In this episode, we sit down with Joe Lynch and Tony Heinemann, a commercial fishing duo that came together under unusual circumstances. Both of them have boats registered for rod and line bass and pollock fishing, and this year they were awarded a recreational tuna fishing licence. So guess what they did? Hit the like button, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Tuna Gear podcast. I'm Andy. Danny's not here because he's been snowed in with his kid. I was going to wade in hard on him, but I thought there was a time he didn't turn up and I told everybody else he was going to have his bumhole bleached. And I thought, this time it's legit. Okay, we're going to let him off. So this episode's a bit different for you. We've got two commercial fishermen on this time. We got Joe Lynch. We got Tony Heinemann. Nailed that one. Now, I got to know these boys through the beginning of the tuna fish season this year. You bought some gear from Hooks. Online. Shout out Simon. Got it from Simon. How did we end up making contact? How did it work?
I bought gear, and I think I phoned you regarding some of the gear about ordering more of it.
Very possibly, yeah. We ended up on Facebook or WhatsApp or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of went from there, didn't it? So, yeah, so I got to know these boys this year. Absolute fishing machines. Nailed your quota really quickly. But that's not just the only fishing that you do, is it? So we'll dive right back into it. So your boat is
Currently I've got a 6.9 metre cheetah cat.
Which is rod and line bass?
Rod and line bass fishing mostly.
Tony, you've got a
7 metre twinsies.
Rod and line bass?
Rod and line bass.
Cat A as well?
Yeah.
So were you boys affected by the pollock?
Yes, heavily. Yeah.
Heavily?
Affected by that.
Did you get any compo from the government like some of the guys got?
No, missed
We
by
missed
literally
it.
a couple percent.
Because you guys fish in tandem with each other, don't you?
We basically fish together. Well, it's better safety-wise.
Yeah.
But obviously, then if we're in the same area, he can scout one little patch, I can scout another little patch, and then put our heads together if one's catching more than the other.
We can cover more ground as a pair than we can on our own.
Yeah.
So it's easier if we work as a pair, find fish individually and then bring the other one in on it.
Yeah.
How did that happen then? How did you two get to know each other and come up with this arrangement? Because in fishing, it's very...
Oh, it's very secret.
Yeah. There's not a lot of guys that would be doing what you guys would be doing.
There's an interesting story really about how it all came about, which is that when I was recreational fishing with my dad, I got shouted at by a commercial fisherman on the Eddystone. And I felt the need after the situation to message and figure out what the problem was as a 16-year-old.
That's pretty ballsy. A lot of people would have just gone, oh.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's off to him.
And it ended up then that we had a bit of a chat and stuff, and he wasn't as horrible as he seemed when he was out there. And
Why did you shout at him?
Oh, yeah.
No, why? Why did you? What?
Because they were fishing in the vicinity of commercial people trying to earn a living. And I think I snagged his line or something like that, so that was just the end of it.
Right, okay, fair enough. Because that is a topic in itself, isn't it? So when I'm up at start fishing, there's a lot of commercial guys that will go up to start their bassing.
Yeah.
I always try to stay out their way. But I'll be there trying to stay out of somebody's way and you'll just see another bloke just come in, just motor straight into the middle of them. Because it's not something you can't do, but I'm guessing it's one of those those unwritten rules. There's guys earning money.
It's a little bit of etiquette. That's all that's what we used to... I don't know if you've ever been out the Eddystone when it was manic out there.
Not like the wacky races of it.
Oh, there used to be like 20, 25 boats. Commercial
football pitch area.
And in an area of a football pitch. And it was just boats. Because a lot of it is stemming the tide fishing.
Yeah.
And of course, then you'll get all the recreationals that come out. And the Eddystone Reef's a big area, but where we are, that's the only place they're going to catch fish. That's their sort of attitude.
Right, okay.
When half of them are only using baited feathers anyway, and they're not going to catch bass, because obviously we were targeting the bass at the time. But some of them are going in suddenly, they're plonked right in front of you with their feathers going up and down. They're only in like 20 foot of water. You just think, well, you're not going to catch nothing. And now you've just cocked me up because you're in my way, because we're like stemming the tide and they're drifting down on top of you.
So when you say stemming the tide, for people that don't know, what do you mean by that?
Oh, it's basically if you got the outside steering, you're basically steering your boat from the outside with your bait in the water, and you're just keeping your vessel
holding
stationary
tide,
on top of the actual shoulder bass. And that's how.
So instead of setting up a drift, you're literally using that boat to hold yourself in place.
And all the rest of the commercials are obviously weaving in and out of each other, just that type of thing. As soon as you catch a fish, if the boat's in front of you, you would like angle yourself out of the way so he can drift back out of it and sort his fish out. And then he'll come up again and do exactly the same. That's how it fished for years out there. But then again, suddenly you'll get a recreational turn up. Ooh, must be fish here. Stop, and then drift right back on top of 10, 15 boats all heading straight towards them. And then they won't move. They just think, well, we got just as much right to be there, which they have. We got nothing against that. But just, if you're going to do it, be on the outside of the boats doing it, so you're not going to cause chaos when you drift right down through the middle.
When you're a rod tip away from another boat and you're trying to hold in the tide, it's ridiculously difficult to try and move out of the way of a boat drifting.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I've never tried to hold in the tide like that. We just drift through the race. I've got a live bait out, drift through the race.
Yeah, the race is a bit different. I mean, because the bigger the tide, it's a nightmare. But the Eddystone was all right. It was
the only place we stem the tide is the Eddystone, really, isn't it? We don't do it anywhere else other than there. It's the only place.
So after you shouted at him and then he rung you back up.
Yeah, he messaged me.
I messaged him in the evening then, and it led on from there, and I ended up talking about jumping on board with him to learn a little bit, and kind of ended up crewing then from then onwards, didn't I? I came out through started in April doing odd days here and there amongst being at school, and ended up the whole of the summer then ended up being crewing.
So you taught him? Trained him up,
sort of. I didn't give him all the little
all the bits. Kept some of it in your back pocket.
Exactly.
You got to keep some things for yourself.
Oh yeah.
So was that on your twinsies then?
I had a Fibermar at the time then.
Was that one of the 7 metre ones?
Yeah.
Did you find them a bit slammy?
I had the first one in the UK with a central wheelhouse. I had a design purely for the live baiting for bass out the stone, which was perfect, and a bit of polygon.
Did you sell that last year?
Yeah, it went to Lou. Well, it was in...
Did it have a silver
on the back, yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that one come up for sale.
Yeah.
Because it's not... They've all got that forward-facing wheelhouse, haven't they?
I had previously to that, I had another one with a forward wheelhouse, but it was just when I was recreational. And I knew those boats were a horrendous ride with the forward wheelhouse. So I had a design with a central one, which was okay. It was better.
Okay.
But
it still wasn't great.
It still wasn't great.
It still was not great.
You just had to know about the boats and how they handle in the sea, so you know your limits of what you could actually do with it.
Because they're quite a popular boat in the rod and line bass world. You see them. You go and find a fishing boat like I do, and I'm always, just shopping around looking for whatever mad idea I'm gonna come up with next, and they're on there. There's probably 3 or 4 for sale on there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good platform. Don't get me wrong, they're nice sea boats, but it's when you're motoring in any sea, they slam, and with the following sea, they're absolutely horrendous. I know it's not a good advert for them, but if you know how to work them, put all the weight back aft, they're fine. You're going to put all the weight on the boats back aft, because they're designed to ride with their bow high. Of course, when they originally came to the UK with the forward wheelhouse, obviously putting the weight forward with our type of seas, as soon as they come off the sea, they just do a hard
nosedive and shear off.
Yeah.
Do they? Okay, that's interesting.
Even with the one with the central wheelhouse, I found stood at the back of the wheelhouse because I had the secondary steering. The boat was a completely different boat.
If you were in the wheelhouse,
it was
It was not.
So you're just driving around the wheelhouse all the
time. Getting wet, yeah.
You might as well have an open boat at that stage.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So how long did that one last for?
Oh, I had that one a few years. Yeah, I had a 4, 5, 6 years, something like that, yeah.
And then you went to the Twinsies.
Yeah, I was fed up getting a battering every day. Because I used to push the weather quite a bit. So I thought, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. My body's telling me I had to get a more stable platform.
So you had that built from scratch just for you, MCA, hold and all the rest of it straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Did you move your bass entitlement then across?
Yeah.
Did you have to?
No, it met the criteria because the tonnage and the kilowatts, that's fine to move to a cat if it's the same or less. But you can't go from a
Monohull to a
cat with more tonnage.
With
kilowatts.
less. No, sorry, with less, isn't it?
With more.
Yeah, so
you can't go from a monohull to a catamaran with more tonnage or kilowatts.
So you can't just go and buy an Orkney Dayliner, basically, take the bass entitlement off of it, and then go and move it to a Twin Seas.
Yeah.
You've got to have a boat that's already got the same kilowatts in the same.
To get a catamaran. If you're in a monohull, you can up your licence and transfer your bass entitlement as long as it's under 8 metres.
Right, okay.
So there's a bit of a difference in...
Because you're 7 metres on that Twin Seas.
Yeah.
What engines have you got on it?
I got twin 40s, but they're the equivalent to a 115.
Right, okay.
It's a D-rated.
D-rated engines, yeah.
D-rated engines.
So you got the torque, but not the massive horsepower.
Yeah, okay, I get that, because you don't want to be burning so much fuel all the time.
No, but it does burn a little bit, but I'm happy to deal with that and have a nice, comfortable day out.
Have your heaters on in there and things like that.
Yeah, sit around like this when it's freezing outside.
So you were crewing at that stage, and then when did you decide to go on your own, Joe? What was the...
I had the intention when I started going to college and stuff, doing marine engineering. I always had the intention of going fishing. And the opportunity sort of arose with my parents helping me out, knowing that there was no chance I was ever going to university. So they helped set me up with...
I had the same from my parents. My brother went off and did computer programming and all this sort of stuff, and I'm just like, I was never, ever... They couldn't even get me through my GCSEs, let alone off to university.
Oh, there was no way, and I think they knew really that even if I went to university, it wasn't going to do me any good, really.
It's not for everybody, is it?
No, I'd have been sat in those lecture rooms looking out the window going, I should be at sea right now.
The day-to-day.
Yeah. There's a fishing, like commercial fishing, is more of it's a calling, a lifestyle. You know, if I know what you mean about looking out the window, thinking I need to be at sea. I've got that. Like, I just want to be out there. So I talked to you about it. I'm like, I'll come do some crewing. Been talking to you about a boat, and like some of my intentions of where I want to go with it. I've always wanted to go commercial fishing. I was worried about having to rely on that as my main income when the weather's horrendous. And
it's not.
That is the struggle with it. You know,
it's not getting any easier either. That's the thing.
It's like now, like I used to do the pollock fishing through the winter. That's my main time. Really, I focused on pollock. Really, was February, March when the bass fishing wasn't there. And now, with that lack of quota, it's pointless even really going. You know, you've got one good day. And that's you done for the month, essentially. With
you were saying it's not much, is it? 180 kilos?
Well, it sums it up this month now because, cut a long story short, the way the fish have moved and stuff like that due to
make it a long story. We got nowhere to be, mate. It's fine. You can make it as long as you want.
Due to the tuna turning up, which is another subject anyway, the fish have changed their habit, their feeding grounds and their habits of where they hang out and stuff like that.
Do you really think the tuna have affected the pollock? Do you not think it's a water temperature thing or a...
I don't think it's affected them up to such where there's less of them. It's if we've noticed now because we're doing more feeding. We're doing more wreck fishing for bass. Now years ago, there were certain wrecks that used to hold bass. Now, you guarantee you go to any wreck, there's bass there. And there's pollock there. But whereas before they used to arc over the wreck and stuff like that, they're tight in on the wreck. You've got a job to actually recognise. You've been out there day in, day out, and you recognise the signs of where the fish are and what it looks like.
So when you say signs, you mean like the markers on the screen?
Yeah, that's it. On your echo sounder,
you can pick out a pollock versus the bass.
Yeah, you can see where the fish are laying. Where before it marks a little bit up like bait fish.
Yeah,
well, that's just because the pollock and the bass are all tightened around the wreck because they won't venture off because there's a massive predator swimming around. All right, I don't think the tuna actively feed on bass and pollock because they're just chasing bait.
They just spook them.
But they're chasing the same bait that the bass and the pollock are chasing.
The pollock and the bass are getting spooked by these massive fish swimming around. They're thinking, well, they're on the hit list as well. But they will take bass and pollock.
I've seen them taking bass at start point.
Exactly, yeah. They'll take them off your line.
Yeah.
But they're not actively chasing those fish. But those fish are hiding. They're playing hide and seek, basically.
Do you think it's affected how do I word this? The growth, the weight of the fish, where the tuna are smashing so much bait?
I think it will eventually because the bait fish is basically getting less and less. Because we found, like this year, the trying to find bait in the mornings and that is getting worse and worse every year now.
Are you trying to find mackerel?
Well,
Yeah.
mackerel. There used to be the pilchards. Well, the herring were quite plentiful at one stage in Plymouth Sound, but that's disappeared.
I mean, we had probably, 2-month window this year where we could actually
Yeah,
go out
pin
and
mackerel.
catch live bait quickly to go bassing. And that was it. After that, I don't even think I've tried catching live bait now in over a month or so.
Because you need a lot of live bait, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we'd need to be really like 150 to 200 live baits to warrant actually taking that time to get the live bait.
Yeah,
So
you
the
need
harder
full strings coming up at a time, don't
yeah,
you?
the,
It's-
the
that's
harder
it.
it
You spend
becomes to
half a
get it,
day.
the less fishing
Yeah.
time we get. So then we can't catch as much for our paycheck fish, as it were. So the less bait there is, the more we're struggling with that, especially when it comes down to, the smaller tides and stuff where the lures don't work as well.
They're not swimming correctly.
Yeah, they're not working correctly and stuff. So
Do you break the slow jigs out at that stage?
We're gradually trying
yeah.
different things. I
Yeah,
mean, you got to adapt. At the end of the day, it's your job, and if you go out there and catch nothing, you've already had a pocket because you've put fuel in your boat. So you've got to go out there and catch a minimum amount of fish just to
Cover your costs.
for the day. And then after that, anything else is a bonus. You're going to get days where you're not going to cover the bills. We accept that, but you got to actively go out there and say, "Yeah, I've got to meet the criteria today," type of thing. So we always adapt. We're not the ones that just sit back and do, well, that don't work, I'm going in. We think, well, what else can we do now? Or what else can we try and catch? So we're looking at other species and stuff like that now.
So going back with that bait with the mackerel, do you think the mackerel is a water temperature thing? Because we used to see everybody spinning with feathers June, July, through the summer, catching loads of mackerel. Last year, even through, me and my mate were doing quite a bit of bassing up at start. I would say it was around September, October. We were drifting through the castles. Used to be able to drift through the castles at Dartmouth, pick a load of joeys up, off you go, live baiting for the day. Couldn't find anything. Absolutely nothing. But then we were doing it. I can't remember what we wanted some bait for. We wanted something anyway. We were drifting through the castles, strings upon strings of mackerel coming up in January and February.
Yeah.
Because they are a colder water fish.
Yeah.
There seems to be more bait offshore than what previously had been. We used to have majority of our bait used to be close in, but now it's like you'll go, right, I'm going to go out with the lures. I'll go out there, and you'll arrive out there and you'll be looking for it and you'll be going, oh, look at all of this bait here. And it just seems like this year it never truly came inshore.
How far off when you say offshore? What are you talking, 10 miles plus or
Yeah, probably about
plus
that.
to 6?
When we were going out there,
Probably 10
you had
miles
birds going all the way through. There was no tuna there at one stage. There was just a massive, massive area of bait.
Is that small bait? Like you're really...
It's mixture.
It's mixture.
But there's mackerel in
It's
there
not
because
a
mackerel
juvenile
are even
stuff,
chasing
yeah.
some of that
Yeah,
stuff.
because the mackerel were chasing it themselves as well. Say last winter, there was tons of pilchards in Plymouth Sound. Tons of them. And that was right through the winter time because we never really had a cold winter, did we, last year? So there wasn't a lot of cold water coming out through the Tamar. So I think the pilchards did stay quite a long time before they shifted off.
This cold snap we're having now, we didn't have it at this time last year, did we?
No. So it might affect things differently again this year. You don't know. I mean, every year's different.
Do you find like the pilchards a bit too soft as a live bait? They fall apart a bit? Because those mackerel are pretty robust.
I've got to be honest, I'm more of a fan of the mackerel and scad than the pilchards. He loves pilchards, so
I'll use anything. Whatever comes up on the feathers goes in the tank.
It's getting used.
That's it.
See, mackerel, like you can get a few drifts. You just pull them up, chuck them in a bucket, run back up again,
Yeah.
back over the side.
Yeah.
I love using live bait for bassing. I'm too lazy with the lure. I just down it goes. It just drift through. So you were saying there's other species that you've been concentrating on as well. I know we've spoken about this a few times. What other stuff have you been sort of targeting to make it?
Looking at black bream, John Dory's. I mean, we've both got. Well, I've got a netting entitlement for bass, but I'm not going to use it. But we'll be thinking about long lines and stuff like that for ray. Depending on, we'll have to look into what ray we can actually land because that's a massive thing of what you can and what you can't. It's just it is a minefield. Trying to go into a different type of fishery, you got to do your research first because you just can't go out there, catch what you want, chuck it on the key, and get money for it.
Because you've been doing a lot of black breaming recently, haven't you?
I've been doing a fair bit.
Have you been at it as well?
I've done a little bit of it, yeah.
No, I'm not going to go on to that topic.
No, because you've been adapting to come onto this, haven't you? It's not something that you've been doing. So this is where the trainee became the master, was it? And you started putting some of yours.
I just think that's what I'm a bit like autistic, as most people that know me know. So for me, I can like put my head into something and I'll go and figure it out. Because once I've tried starting like doing it, I kind of have to then go and succeed at doing it.
Right,
so
okay.
I then keep going and trying it and sort of.
I think that's called being stubborn, mate. It might be.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
On the spectrum somewhere with some stubbornness chucked in there.
But no, I've taken a bit of time to try to learn the bream fishing now, and it's becoming more numerous down by us. Never used to be a massive thing, you know. Last few years, you could go to places and you could catch 1s and 2s, but now you can go to places, you know, and you go and catch them 3 at a time and drift upon drift sometimes if you want to.
Is there a minimum size with those?
There is, but it's
very
ridiculously small. It's
like
you wouldn't even keep anything in the bottom 2 size grades really at the bream because they really are tiny.
They're almost like this type of size.
They're little micro bream. It's just.
What are you going to do with that sort of thing?
Yeah. What do they do with it? This is the thing.
It is an eating fish, isn't it? It's not just it goes off to be processed into pet food or something like that. It is a
quite
bone.
sought after fish. It's in some restaurants, they do.
I'm the most. I don't even like fish. I don't eat it.
I'm not a massive fish.
I've got zero interest in it. You know, Aaron, who does videography for me, he's into it. Like, the squid on the WhatsApp group. And he's out catching a squid. Then you're getting pictures of like fried up squid rings and this, that, and the other. And yeah, he absolutely loves it. It goes on to the squidding. That's been a massive thing this year, isn't it?
Yeah. I've done quite a bit of the squidding.
A lot better this year.
Yeah.
Was the money good for it?
At the start, it was really good.
Well, it still ain't too bad for the. As before, we used to catch a squid. They never used to grade them on the Plymouth market, but now Plymouth market's now shut for the minute. Hopefully to reopen, but we don't know. But Brixton market, where our fish goes now, they're actually graded, and the bigger squid are actually making not bad money.
What do they class as a bigger squid? What's their grade? Do you know?
I don't know what the grades are.
3/4 of a kilo and above is a grade 1 squid. From what I've
What's
seen.
that in length then? What are you talking there?
Well,
40 centimetres?
Yeah,
roughly,
I would say probably 35 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just fetching more money because there's more meat on it, or
I think because it's the ideal size for rings. I think that's
when you cut up the mantle bit, whatever you call it, they can literally cut it up with scissors, and it just forms a perfect size rings each time. Whereas the smaller squid, it's quite thin to make rings with.
Right, okay.
A lot of it's all governed down to what the restaurants do with it. It's the same as bass. You'll get a size 5 bass that'll be worth more than a size 4, which is bigger.
What's the difference between
because
a 5 and a 4 then?
A 5 is a plate size one. So they'll sell it as a whole fish in a restaurant. A size 4 is too big for the plate, so they've got to chop it up. Then you go to a size 3, which makes a lot more money because then they can cut it into steaklets. It's the same with squid. The small ones, they're just too small for the rings, so they must obviously use them whole or something like that. And then the bigger ones, they can just chop in, and they're the perfect size for the rings.
So when you're landing bass, then they're not just going on and fetching. Let's call it £15 a kilo. You're going to be getting X amount of kilo for this one,
It's all,
X amount. Of
size, all full size range of prices. Each size will be a different price.
Yeah.
Completely different. You know, recently we've had say like the small fish has been down as low as like £7 a kilo, but the bigger fish is still like £14 and above.
What? So like a minimum size is 42. So what do they class as small? 42 through to
42 to about 48 probably.
Okay.
And the next one's like 48 to 55.
I think they do it on kilos, don't they?
Yeah, they do it on kilos.
I think it's 1 to 2 kilo is size 5, is it?
No, 1 to 2s is 4s, 0.5 to 1s is 5s, and then I think it's like 2 to 3 is 3s, and so on.
Do you have to grade this for them before it goes up? It all just goes in a box.
It just goes in our boxes, bellied up on ice and everything, and then the market will grade it.
Do you gut them? Do you have to gut them? They are literally.
We bleed the bass, bleed the bream, squid as they are.
Do you dispatch them when they're on the boat? You know, like they do with the tuna with the old icky gym method and stuff like that.
You can actually chop them, can't you? The squid.
No, the bass, sorry.
Oh, the bass.
Yeah, do they just go on ice and that's...
Bass is literally cut the gills and they go on slush ice because you need them to really be alive to pump the blood through to get the best quality.
Right, okay.
Sounds cruel, but
it is what it is. People, you know...
Quality.
But people want the quality, and before, if you whack them on the head, they could tell that fish has been hit on the head, apparently.
They bruise through the gills. If you whack them on the head, they bruise through the gills. Yeah. And then they go, oh, well, that fish is bruised. So then they go, oh, that's a lower quality fish. So
unless
it's a difficult one.
Yeah, unless it's got more blood in it when they fillet it or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, but they can tell. And obviously then if they start getting fish from your boat and it's that, they will obviously, they may not bid on it or they may bid less for it. So you got to try and keep that fish to what they want to buy. It's
a side of food that people get a bit funny with because they like eating steak, but they don't like the idea of the cow being killed.
I
love bacon, but I go to Pennywell Farm with my kids, and I absolutely love pigs. And I'd love to have a pet pig, but I love streaky bacon. Could I dispatch that pig?
I'd appreciate that in the morning. That smell.
Yeah, exactly right. But people, I think some people need to understand because the wife goes. She'll go into Aldi to pick up some bits and pieces and she'll come back with some bass fillets and you flip those bass fillets over and it says sea farmed in Turkey on the back of it. And you're like, she's like, yeah, but she goes, they were like £3.50 for these two fillets. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not worried that those two fillets that cost £3.50 can be flown in from Turkey.
Yeah.
And then you chuck them in the pan and they go, me.
And fed on pellets and all the other crap that they do.
It's a bit like the problem they have with the salmon farming.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly the same type of thing. Yeah.
At least with what they're buying, with what you guys are doing, it's proper English fish out of.
Oh yeah.
And looked after properly. They might not agree with how it happened.
To be honest, I'd sooner dispatch it straight away. I would no qualms about doing that, but it's obviously we want to get the best price possible because we're not catching tons and tons of the stuff. We only catch a couple boxes of fish a day, so. Our fish have got to be the best quality we can possibly get it. So
is the couple of boxes a day, is that a limit that you set for yourself or is that just what the fishing's like?
Well, it depends on what you're catching, really. I mean,
you've just got like a maximum, like different species, you'll have like a maximum amount that you're physically capable of catching in a day.
Yeah.
To build vast amounts of weight, it's a lot of fish to catch, especially for us really that are working mostly single-handed.
Rod in line fishing.
Exactly.
There's not enough hours in the day to go and catch that much.
Yeah.
Even through the summer, we'll be going, some days we're leaving the house at like 1:30 in the morning and not coming back in until like gone 10 o'clock. So you're not home till 11. There's just
work a lot of
hours.
Is that because you got to catch the tide, catch the...
Well, it's one of the...
Still, you've got a long way to go.
It's that saying, you got to make hay when the sun shines.
Right, okay.
If it's decent weather and it's sustained weather, you got to be out there because, like we know now, when the weather changes, we may not... I mean, there's some years I'll never fish from the end of October till beginning of April. Just purely when we had all them storms and stuff. Yeah. You just can't do nothing.
Back-to-back easterlies.
Bills still need paying. Yeah. So if you're not making the money before that and putting it away, what are you going to do?
It is a problem.
That's the side, another side of the industry people don't see. They might say, oh, he's landed this amount. Look at all that. He's doing well. Yeah. Effectively, we're only working 6 months of the year, 7 months of the year.
And you've got a maximum amount you can catch through the year, isn't it, as well?
Oh, exactly, yeah.
What you capped out at?
On bass, we're about 6.5 ton.
Yeah.
Which is more than enough, really.
More than enough.
If you were working with a couple of crew on board, you might go, well, a little bit more maybe, but
then again, you've got to pay the crew. Because we're single-handed, we haven't got crew to pay.
Okay.
But now they've taken the pollock away. You just think, well, that's another avenue where we had income coming in.
Do you think the pollock should have stayed for the rod in line guys? Because it's much more... Because they did it, because a lot of those guys were turning... The netters were turning up, sticking a net all the way around that wreck and clearing out the whole lot, weren't they?
Well, they've been doing it for years. Yeah. I mean, really, they should have...
And in breeding season.
They didn't listen to the scientists in the first place. They should have done it 20 years ago and had a closed season when the pollock were in row. So you...
Which is around that January, February time, isn't it? When everybody goes.
But that's when they used to hammer it.
Yeah.
The problem is you go through the summer, you've got a set quota per month, then you go to the winter and the quota goes up. What they're catching in even one tide, which they'll work for the nets, so go and work the neap tide, so go work out one tide. They're catching more in that one tide than we'll catch in that 3 months.
In a year.
Well, yeah.
Some of them in a year.
Some of them they were doing 10 ton on a tide, and you just
unbelievable
think,
what they used to catch.
We're not going to get that in the whole year. We'd have had to have a full year with the best pollock fishing possible, and be taking crew to go and do 10 ton.
Do they get a lesser price for that net caught fish than you do for the rod and line caught stuff?
Considerably.
Since the ban has come in, the price of pollock has gone through the roof. But that's purely because it's supply and demand, isn't it?
But you can. I was talking to you the other day, and you were saying you can still buy some quota for pollock, can't you? It is available.
It is, but then that all changes then next year.
Yeah.
So we weren't made aware until the last minute about the fact that we could have actually bought a little bit to, tide us over a little bit. Not that really we want to resort to that, because we just want the fishery to come back, really.
Yeah.
But now we found out last minute, but then the whole system with the quotas for the pollock then changes over next year, so we then might not be able to buy any quota for next year.
Do you know what they're changing with it, or is it?
There's potential for the closed season coming in for everybody, including recreationals by the sounds of it.
Okay.
And then the quotas...
Charter boys will be up in arms, won't they?
Yeah, I mean...
Because they're still battering them. The charter boat's going out.
Yeah.
It's one of the main fish that are targeted in the UK.
This is
our
one of our
arguments.
biggest gripes. They could have put... What they should have done is, when they've done the commercials, they should have put a bag limit on the charters.
Two fish, like the other bass.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You get 2 decent pollock, unless you want to fill or feed the family. What are you doing with it all?
A pollock
That's the
is...
thing. And once it's up on the surface, it ain't going back down anyway.
That is the problem with it. We did a trip with Matt Forrester before tuna season started, I think it was. We're doing a load of slow pitch jigging stuff with him.
Yeah.
And we were catching some donkeys, and it got to the stage where like, well, what are we going to do with the rest of them?
Yeah.
We got them back, gutted them up, and I went driving around all my mates' houses, just dropping off these massive fillets to everybody. And that trip, I put a load in my freezer, and I filled up 4 or 5 mates' other freezers for,
Yeah.
And that was probably only off 10 fish. They're all big fish.
Yeah.
But you've got the charter boats going out, just going drop, drop, drop.
And the thing is, a lot of them as well, once this commercial ban came in place, they weren't posting pictures of boxes filled with pollock and stuff before the commercial ban came in place. They knew we were all feeling the hurt from it. And then next thing you know, you've got certain individuals that have decided they're going to start plastering all over Facebook all these pollock that they're catching. And that one, it just sort of salt in the wound, really.
Yeah, I imagine it is.
Well, yeah.
Because there is a sustainable way to do everything. I get with the nets, they're pretty...
Yeah.
If they're going to be taking 10 tons out like that, where you've got 2 guys on 2 boats with 1 rod going through at a time, it's a much more hand-selective way. It's a bit like when we come onto the tuna, the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's a much more...
Well, that's it. I mean, everyone hops on about the sustainability of fishing. And we can't get any more sustainable. There's 1 rod, 1 hook, 1 person. That's it. You're never going to kill a species of fish with a rod and line. It's never going to happen.
We can't wipe out a shoulder fish, because that shoulder fish will decide it's going to stop feeding long before we can wipe a shoulder out.
So that's the trouble with the system at the minute. It's not governed around. It's basically 1 cap fits all. You're a commercial fisherman. Rules are for the commercial fisherman. That's it. But it's basically under 10s. Anything over 10s is a slightly different rule. The under 10s, we basically just get hammered.
It's like the kilowatts on the boats. That was fine when it was for the beam trawlers. But
It makes no difference to us.
Yeah.
I could put a 300 horsepower on the back of my boat. Makes no difference. I can't catch no more fish with it. All right, I might get in and out a bit quicker, burn a lot more fuel, but makes no odds to my fishing whatsoever. I always said there should be a generic license just for rod and line fishing.
Under any, like under 10 metre, under 8. Well, a lot of the rod and line are under 8, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah.
Majority of,
Yeah. I mean, it would take a massive shake-up in the industry, and it would probably upset quite a few people, because obviously boats are priced on kilowatts, engine sizes, and all your licenses and stuff like that. But unfortunately, the industry needs a big shake-up now, because days have gone where there's plentiful amounts of fish out there, because it's been harvested and hammered, year in, year out, and the government's not took any notice of the scientists, and that's why they panicked with the pollock, and then they just put a complete ban in.
They just wait until it's too late and then just go right, we'll just all out ban it then.
There's too many corporate companies now that own a lot of boats, big boats.
Yeah.
And they hold the majority of the quotas and stuff like that. But they've got
the
too
ear
much.
of ministers
Exactly.
and things like that.
This is the problem with it all.
Yeah.
The likes of the small coastal community boats, they're the ones that get hammered the most with all the decisions. The big companies, they're in a pool of quota where if one boat's not catching, that quota gets given to one of the other boats, so they can double their quota then. It's just saying... Yeah.
We'd have been happy seeing pollock restrictions start getting brought in about 5 years ago. If they started dropping the quotas a bit lower and stuff. Because it never would have got to the point where it was banned.
Because was it an uncapped quota? You could just go and pull in...
It was...
Because if you got uncapped Cat A, can you just land as much pollock as you want?
No, it's still quoted, but it was such a high quota, you were never, ever going to reach even 1 month of the quota, let alone the whole year.
Was it capped per boat? Was it capped as it came in on the quay for the total for all the boats landed?
It's capped per boat, but they do look at the amounts being caught, and they can alter your license. You get a license variation come through each month, or when they issue it, and then they can alter what you can catch in the next month. So if they suddenly masses and tons of pollock get caught 1 month, they can then reduce
it'll be dropped quota.
That monthly quota.
Okay.
So you've got to obviously keep an eye on your emails and all that.
Make sure you're not turning up with a load of fish.
Well, they'll go over your tonnage and then you get you right in the poo.
Yeah, they're right at you, aren't they? They're quick enough. Do you find there's not a lot of support with that sort of stuff? They're quick to come down on you, but there's not enough support to go.
They're very quick to come down on rod and line commercial boats, I would say. They're not necessarily as quick. When you've got boats that are blatantly breaking rules, it seems like they are then the slowest authority ever to get to anybody. You know, when they know that there's people netting down estuaries and stuff, all of a sudden no one's seen anything, no one's heard anything.
There was a load of problems in Salcombe with it, wasn't there? And the guy that got caught doing it had only just got out of prison for netting down in there as well, and it goes all over the place.
They're understaffed. It's a government run business, and they're understaffed. It's as simple as that.
It can't be everywhere, eyes everywhere.
Exactly. That is half of it. I mean, we know quite a few of the staff and the fisheries down in Plymouth. And you talk to them about stuff, you just think they're full of good ideas, but they haven't got the personnel to carry them out.
They're lovely people, but they physically, they aren't being given enough by the government to actually be able to deal with all of it.
They know everything's going on.
They know what's going on, they just can't do anything about it. That's where the problems come in.
Sad, isn't it?
It's unbelievable what goes on, but what people don't see, that's the thing. All you see is that's one of my biggest gripes with the social media, and especially some of the fishing forums. You mention commercial, and automatically you're a trawler, nets. That's it. They don't see, I'm rod and line, I'm sustainable. No, you're a commercial fisherman. You are killing our fish that we want to go out there and catch and put back. That's one of my biggest gripes on social media is uninformed, it's not uneducated, but
no, it
they're
is.
blinkered.
It is, mate. Don't worry, I'll go wading on social media.
They're just blinkered of.
A lot of them are just trolls anyway. A lot of them are just underendowed fuckwits, to be honest. Well, they just want to be able to whinge about something. That's my general view with social media.
Whinge till the cows come home, but I like to think what I'm whinging about is a subject worth whinging about, and I've got a point. But some of these just think, what a tit.
They just want something to blame it on.
They do. Well, I'm not catching stuff. It's because the commercials have hammered everything. But it's probably not. The recreational fleet is just as guilty of is taking fish. I know it's a 2-day limit with bass. The pollock was open game. But if there's a lot of recreational boats picking up 2 fish a day, taking a load of pollock, taking this, taking that.
A lot of other stuff.
It all adds up, doesn't it?
I can see why, because I mean, the run a boat these days, it isn't cheap. If you got a sniff of, oh mate, you want some fish, and he'll pay for it. Well, you're not going to say no, are you? No. He'll pay for the fuel for the day. I can see that. That's fair enough. But if you're going to do it blatantly in front of commercial boats out of fishing alongside of you, then you need your ass spanked.
Do you see that? Do you see guys coming up alongside you and just filling boxes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's constant.
You can't say nothing to them. Well, I do, but...
the best comment you get is when you see people, and say they're bass fishing, they'll have had like 8 or 10 bass, and you think, he hadn't chucked any back. And you mention something, and they go, yeah, I'm keeping them all alive in my bait tank in case I catch a bigger one. And they've got some little, like, 20-litre flexi bucket with bass flipping stacked up on top of each other. And you're just looking and just going, even if they do release them now, the chances of those fish surviving is so slim.
They sell them to
See, on my when I had the fountain, I had this huge, great big bait well on the back of it. I could put my 6-year-old kid in it. It was like a bath, and we used to rotate the bass through it.
Yeah.
But even before, when we used to bring them up after a fight, even if we were going to dispatch them, I'd put them back in the live well just to recover, just to like sort of chill out, lactic acid, all that sort of stuff. Someone had told me about it years ago, and I was like, okay, we'll let him feel better before we clobber him in bleeding sort of thing. But it was the same thing. Sometimes you catch one, we've got a barbecue the next day, and we're like, I want a couple of bass. Do I want that one? Well, we're going to get another one. I'll chuck it in the live well. We're fishing shallow in start, and I've got a whacking great big live well.
Yeah, it's shallow.
With a huge, great big pump, and you could get away with it. You're like, okay, yeah, you can go back. I'm going to keep you. And we just kept rotating bass through the day, but you never have. I wouldn't have 8 on board. There'd be 2 in that live well.
Yeah.
And as soon as the third one come up, do we want that one? Do we want those? No, that one can go back. You wouldn't have 8 because if fisheries turn up, you've got 8 in a live well. You're done.
Oh yeah.
There's no. Oh, we're going to see if we got better ones. 8's 8. You can't have 8 on board, alive or dead.
Yeah.
Was my interpretation of the rules. It's 2 a day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 2 per angler.
Yeah, 2 per angler. Yeah, there's only 2 on the boat, but we would never. Even if me and Sean, there'd only be 2 going home. There wouldn't be bloody 4 going home.
Oh,
I just don't eat that much. I'd rather just leave it in there.
I don't even like bass, to be honest. I don't even see the.
Yeah,
It's one of the few ones. I say I don't like fish. If I take a bass home and I stick it on the barbecue myself, it's wrapped in foil. There's some lemon on top of it. I put some butter, load of pepper on top, and some Himalayan rock salt, and I wrap it all up in foil and whack it on the barbecue for 20 minutes. You come back out.
I am around in for a barbecue.
Yeah, you come round any time you want, mate. Well, I've loved barbecue in the garden. Love a good. It's got to be on charcoal. It's not on gas.
Oh,
if you're barbecuing on gas. Hand your man card in. It's not happening. It has to be on charcoal.
I keep telling my brother that.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Well, we'll bring the bass then.
Yeah, you bring the bass.
Got the barbecue.
Oh yeah, I've got the barbecue. Yeah, we can do that in the summer. Beers out. So the tuna's obviously come along.
Yeah, well, the tuna's been here for about 6 years.
Yeah, longer than It's been here a good while. I'm guessing you guys were seeing it to start with.
Yeah.
We had our first commercial fishery for it last year, which I was involved with. Did you apply for that fishery?
I did apply for it.
Got turned down.
I never really even had a response the first year.
Yeah,
I put the application in. I never had any formal response whatsoever. Then kind of was asking and going, well, have I been rejected or accepted? And eventually it was, we were just reprocessing your application or something, which by the time that was all happening was too late anyway. Because
they were going to sea, yeah.
We weren't even expecting to get it, to be honest with you. But there wasn't any...
Did you both apply last year?
Applied, but there wasn't any boats from Plymouth, commercial-wise, that actually got it.
Nicky V.
But that wasn't the Plymouth boat.
Well, he's DH1, so he's technically Dartmouth.
But he wasn't officially in Plymouth. That boat
before that point, he wasn't.
Right, okay.
It wasn't an established Plymouth boat, put it that way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's what
there was 10 last year, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Because we were out of Torquay on the Mary D. There was Dave Bond, who's out of Lou.
Yeah.
The Nicky V, who was flitting between Dartmouth and Plymouth. Mind you, we came down to Plymouth. We were in rural William Yard. We stuck the boat down in there.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd either come out of there and fish out of Plymouth, and when all the fish were up here, we brought the boat and stuck it back on its mooring in Torquay. Yeah. Just flitted between the two, because that's an old Starfish 8. You're talking 14 knots. You ain't going anywhere in a hurry. Whereas I used to go, let's whip down Plymouth quickly. We can get me down there in an hour. Well, that's when I'm running at 25 knots on my boat. 2.5 hours later, there's Salcombe. Wicked little boat, but it just wasn't the fastest boat in the world. Ant Hill, I think, was in it the first year. Yeah. I don't know any of the other guys that were on it.
Chris Gill.
Chris Gill, Chris was on it.
Ben Angleton was on it.
Don't know Ben, not heard it. I heard of Ben.
And who else was on it?
You think there's a reason the Plymouth boats didn't get it, or?
I don't know.
So they got it this year because you got it. So we did last year. It was 10 boats. The quota was the same.
Yeah.
But if the rumours were true, I think only it was just under 50% of the quota totally got hit, didn't it? It was
48%.
Yeah, 48%, yeah. Yeah, so they didn't hit it.
No.
We reapplied again this year. We got turned down. A bit like you, we never actually got a reason why we got turned down. Didn't break any rules, caught a load of fish, never did anything untoward, hit a load of sea days, reinvested in, well, I hadn't, the guys had reinvested in another boat. We brought an offshore 32 over, completely refitted this thing out, ready to go for this season. And I was away in Spain on holiday with the family. I was like, right, between this month and this month, you've got my undivided attention. We'll go on a load of holidays. We'll do everything. As soon as tuna season comes around, I'm going tuna fishing. And I got a phone call, funnily enough, from Mark Jury, because he had been turned down on the Nicky V. He was like, have you got your licence? I don't know, mate. I haven't heard from the guys. He's like, I've heard you haven't got it. So I phoned Mike up. He was like, I didn't want to wreck your holiday. I'm a big boy, mate. It doesn't affect me. Luckily, I got a recreational licence, so it didn't affect my fishing at all. But you reapplied this year, and you got it.
Yeah.
You both applied.
Both
applied, and I got it this year.
So you had the agreement that if one got it,
he would jump on board, and vice versa.
Yeah,
and you get it. So I jumped.
Did they give you a reason why you didn't get it?
No, that was part of the criteria of the application.
Nobody had reasons for why they didn't get it. There was never any reasoning actually officially given to anybody, because a lot of people asked for reasons why they didn't get it, and there was no reasons given. It was just that, your application wasn't good enough.
They don't even look at the compatibility of your boat for tuna fishing either. It's all done on the paperwork that you submit.
Yeah, because I've seen some of those boats that are in it, and they're craning fish out. Because you got a door on yours?
I've got davit on.
You got a door?
I've got a door and an open stern as well.
Would have been perfect for pulling tuna through.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a perfect setup for it.
Have you got open stern so you could shoot pots?
I just had it built like that just in case I ever wanted to convert to something else.
Clever man. Okay. So technically, yours would have been the better boat to do it on.
Given the choice, we'd have picked it to be his boat, really, to go and do it on. But
mad, isn't it?
It wasn't. It was on.
Well, we didn't struggle, though, did we?
No, we didn't.
Well, you definitely didn't struggle, boys.
We didn't struggle.
You absolutely. You were the first guys to finish it, weren't you?
Yeah, we were the first boat done.
Our intention was, as soon as we got it, if we got it, we were going to go out there, smash a quota as quickly as we can. At the end of the day, time is money, especially for us. So we thought, well, we go out there, we do our quota, because that's what we want to do. You don't want to be messing around catching the odd fish here and there when we have the opportunity.
We want to be out there as much as possible back to our other fishing.
Take time off from the bass fishing, which we've done, and we just went straight out and learned as we basically went along.
So this year they put 13 boats into the fleet, didn't they, instead of the 10?
Yeah.
And they dropped the quota down to
3 ton.
3 ton. Was it 3.2 or a flat 3?
Flat 3. It was. They were going to put it as 3.2, but then obviously there was more quota than was given to recreational.
They did put a lot of quota over into that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were going to give it 3.2, because with the multiplier thing that they have, obviously, because your fish is gutted and everything.
Yeah.
It would have been a straight 3 ton of our landed weight.
Right, okay.
And then that, 0.2 of a ton would have covered then the multiplier.
Right, okay.
But they didn't end up doing that. So it was get as close to 3,000 kilos with the multiplier as you could. Yeah.
There was a reason. So Steve Murphy explained to me about the high tonnage within recreational. I'm going to admit, I can't really remember what you said. And I'm going to absolutely butcher it if I tell you. But it was along the lines of they had a percentage of mortalities through charts. And they used that multiplier and assumed X amount of boats are coming in. Yeah. They didn't really know what they were doing, and they were going to have a much higher death rate. And then they...
How do they know, though? How do they know they got a death rate?
Because you got to report it. So with the chart program...
Oh, not that you let the fish go, and if it...
No. If it turns up to the side of the boat, because we've got a tow time, so with the recreational stuff, we've got to go on every trip we do. Yeah. We have to go and we've got to log it. How we caught them, where we caught them, how the fish came to the boat, was it alive in green, and all the rest of it.
All right.
I've seen loads of release shots on social media this year with fish going back going, that's fucked.
I've seen a few. They've released those grips, and you look at that fish, and you think,
it's just gonna look like
it's just like sunk with the boat
almost
going
kited. And you just think, that'll be a trawler fish.
Yeah, that's going for the crabs. I have seen a few like that. So you've got we actually had an email come out recently saying we haven't had very high reportage of mortality. You're not going to get in trouble for reporting dead fish. It's just part of the fishing.
Yeah, they need.
So either it has been happening and lads are too scared to come forward.
Yeah.
Touch wood, I've never had it happen.
No. It surprises me with more live baiting happening that hasn't been more mortality really.
Well, I think those fish go back, and I think because those fish are pretty cooked when they come to the side of the boat. If you're an hour and a half to 2 hours in on the battle,
definitely.
Those fish are getting to the side of the boat. Yeah. There was quite a controversial one, I think, down the coast where one was caught, quite a big one, and it, that fish looked pretty tanked by the time it got to the side of the boat, and it went back, but did it actually go back? It's
a glory hunt though for some of the skippers, isn't it? I want to be the one that's landed the biggest tuna in the UK. I want to have the most. You start getting into those realms and you go.
There are definitely some skippers that are numbers based, but I think that is just the fishery in itself. If you go across to the States and stuff like that and look at it, there is definitely a especially in the big comps, you see them. Because a lot of those comps in America, they're killing the fish, aren't they, as well? They come back with all the flags hanging down the side of the boat. And I think some of that has drifted across into our fishery. And definitely when I first started doing it, we went from just trying to catch them to catching them. Well, how many now can we catch? Now we're coming back out the other side of it. Oh, okay, how can we single out some bigger fish? Yeah. There's lads like Jack and Tim who I fish with are only... They're spinning for them with soft plastics and things like that. They're not even really using poppers. It's, they love that side of it. They'd rather catch the smaller fish. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if that's doing them a disservice. Then they want to catch the smaller fish.
It's more fun to catch the smaller fish on that gear.
Yeah. But have you seen the video I put up? It starts off. There's a 3-part video on the Tuna Gear Facebook.
Off looking really happy.
Yeah, I'm getting shagger. My mate's recording it, and I can't even hold on to the rod.
I commented on it. I thought that looks a bit easy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well, I've only just hooked it, and I thought this is weird because I'd only literally just got that rod and reel set up. I've been waiting for these pens to turn up. They'd never turned up. I bit the bullet and got a ripple fisher, big tuna 76. Got it imported in from like Slovakia or somewhere like that. Because it's the only place you could find one. Yeah. And I did the same. I got a Stella 30,000 on there. I bought that in from the Asian fishing portal.
Oh, yeah.
845 quid from there. 1,200 quid from one of the online tackle people. Yeah. See, I'm getting better, Aaron. I'm not just wading in on people. But I was just like, they had it in stock. It was 1,200 quid. It took me 5 days to get it in here from Japan for 845. Got hit with a tiny bit of import duty, which took it to, I can claim it back because it went through work. Yeah. Because it's equipment for marketing purposes. Yeah. And that was literally like the second outing I'd had with that rod. And I was with Simon from Hooks and he punched one out first. I was waiting. It was my turn. He was supposed to go to the left, and I just cast over the top of him. So it nudged him out of the way. He sunk the tip under a bit to get the line out of the way, and I was retrieving it, and it was like a bass bite. I could feel it knocking that lure, and then and off it went. And I was like, we'd seen. Well, you've probably seen them this year. There's some really small fish out there. Yeah. You were talking like 2 foot.
Yeah, but you won't hook those ones.
Well, the thing was, those fish that we just cast at were those sorts of fish. Yeah. We're using 175 gram Savage Gear V2. That fish is well capable of that. Oh, yeah. Well, when it first went off and was doing stuff, I was like, I thought I'd hooked that. And that's the first part of the video. Then it ran.
Oh, yeah, wait for it.
And I'm just holding on to this thing and I'm going, ain't one of them, ain't one of them, ain't one of them. And it pops up at probably 55, 58 inch, something like that. Yeah. And that was a 20 to 25 minute battle. Yeah. I had arm pump. It's definitely not for the commercial side of things, but for the purist side of it.
We've done it.
Yeah, you did it for your last fish, didn't you?
We started. That was our intentions to do it that way.
Started doing it. We were
the first day we went out, we lost 7 lures. We had no problem hooking them. We just had no chance
into washing machines, and rather than them swimming away from the massive,
they swim into it.
They just carry on. The middle of it.
They just carry on.
We got the same problem with the bars. There's ways to try and pick them off. As soon as they go in, we had one washing machine. I was on Dave's boat, and we just picked our angle wrong. We weren't looking where they were going. They were moving towards us. Yeah. So by the time we got to them, you could hear them hitting the bottom of the boat. All 3 rods start going off, and you can see the tips of the rods doing that as other fish are hitting the lines. You're like, we need to get out of here. And you've got to try and get the boat out, manoeuvre that boat away from that washing machine. Because when they're going in that, it's something spectacular to behold. They are dialed in between dialed in.
It's changed as the year went on. Well, initially, when we first started, they were literally swimming round and crowing the bait in the middle. They were swimming round in a circle.
I haven't seen one like that since the end of September.
That was at the very beginning. They were just doing a massive circle. So you're just like trying to flick it right there.
Right on the edge.
Right on the edge.
And hope one comes out and hits it.
No. It's just like, whack, here we go. And then you see the rod and tip going down and ping. You already had it on for about 10, 20 seconds. That's it.
It's amazing how quickly they can spit those lures, though.
Oh, this was just... It was just fish hitting the line.
Yeah, but once that line's parted, there's people that's going to be thinking, they're swimming around with a lure in their mouth. It's amazing how they can spit those lures.
Oh, yeah.
People didn't realise, prime examples, we had a mate on board with us. We said to him, gave him the casting rod, and we said, when you feel it hit that lure, you need to strike it. And we said, not like a little bass strike.
Pull it out the bottom.
Jump and swing the rod up. And he's like, give it a couple little strikes. And we're kind of looking and we go, no, come on, you got to strike it properly. He's not striking it properly. It's run off, and he's shocked by the power of this fish. And I was thinking, I don't think that hook's set properly. And probably within 5 minutes, hook came out.
Yeah, we've had a few. We had it down in Falmouth at the tournament. As soon as that fish turned around and swam at the boat a bit,
that's it.
That line went slack, and that was the end of that one. I even had it. We had 2 at the tournament. I had it on a bar. I didn't get my leadering gloves out, and they live underneath my chart plotter. They were down in the cabin. Don went to get them, came out with 2 left-handed gloves, and the bar's already at the back of the boat. I'm going bar, and this fish is just swimming at the boat. And the bar's gone all the way up to the top roller. Yeah. The line's gone. I've just watched this tuna. It's come up. The line's gone slack. I'm looking at it, and it's just got the stinger and just gone. Gone. Brilliant. That's a great start to the tournament.
We had a double hookup that did exactly that. We had both fish come just to the stern of the boat, and they were about probably 2 minutes apart. First one came up, swam towards the boat. I couldn't do anything with manoeuvring the boat because we had 2 fish on. There was nothing you could do.
It was our mistake anyway, wasn't it? Yeah.
He went left, he swum back to the right, and then came up and then went down. And by the time that he went back down again, it was all loose. So first rod out the way, onto the second rod.
And they're big hooks. They're big hooks with big barbs on, 9-0s, 11-0s, 12-0s. They're big, sharp hooks. Yeah. And if you had that through your hand, you wouldn't just be spitting that out. But they can do it. It's
because of how bony they are. It works a hole in the fish's mouth.
Yeah. I learned that from Wicked Tuna. They used to talk about that. The longer the fight time, it opens that hole up more and more.
Yeah.
We caught one the other day, and it had I'm trying to work out where the hook had come from. It's probably from a long line. But it was like a big spade hook.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Spanish, French, something like that. It's probably been hooked on a long line. It had been in there a long time because it had a big old red mark right across its scissors where that line had been rubbing. Oh, so that was our good deed for the day. We unhooked that, took that out at the same time. But that's the first fish I've caught in all that time which has had another hook in its mouth still. But it was small. I think it was so small it couldn't actually deal with it.
Yeah.
Because those bigger hooks, you've got a bit more.
They do wrap around.
I think we probably hooked a couple this year that had been hooked before, just purely on the way that they fought.
They knew what they were doing.
This is a whole different breed of fish. I had one on a popper that it was just unstoppable. You had no chance, and I've got the best gear you can possibly have for it, and I cranked that reel up to max and was hanging on, and I was thinking, I can't stop this fish.
Were you chasing it at that stage, or you?
You couldn't have even got to the point where you could have chased it quick enough. It was going that fast.
It spool you.
It didn't even get to the end of the spool in the end. It parted me out probably about 50 metres off the bottom of the spool. But
the line just came off the rod, just went ping. So it must have been a flaw in the braid or something like that because the line had never been off the reel before.
Yeah, you were that deep down the spool.
It was way deep down in the spool. So it just came off and just went ping.
There's nothing. Some of those fish out there, you hook them. There's nothing you're doing. You're bringing a toothpick to a knife fight.
Yeah. Well, there are some. There's a lot of smaller fish the last 2 years, but there's still some big ones rattling around inside all of them.
Yeah, the smaller ones turn up a little bit later. I've noticed. That's the thing I reckon. But
I mean,
from what we were seeing at the beginning, wasn't it?
Our first run, our average size was from like 60 to 80 inches.
What was the minimum size they said you can land?
45 inches.
Okay, yeah,
it's small. I thought I was quite small.
It was either 30 kilo or like 100 and something centimetres.
You got to go on centimetres because you can't go, I think that's 30 kilos when it's in the water. You have to go on size. It's so. In what stage did you decide to start going over to bars instead of just target them on the top?
After the first day.
Once our lure boxes started looking a little bit low on stock, it was right. We might.
Well, the second day we went out, didn't we? And I managed to. I wasn't the greatest at doing it, but I actually managed to hook one, and that was the first one we landed. Was on the
and typically gear. We'd been casting into washing machines every day.
Yeah, this was.
And there was one set of birds just sat on the water, and he went, "I'm going to have a cast in that." As I've gone to go and steam off to another washing machine, he went, "Oh, I'm on,
hang on. Yes, here we go. Hold on."
How big was that fish?
65. Wasn't
it? Something like that.
Was
that was the first one.
Was that the one fish? So you just came in one that day, landed one fish?
Yeah, we had our flag flying. We was quite proud of ourselves that day. Went straight through the Eddystone where all the lads were there, bass fishing.
Oh, did you only put the flag up when you caught one?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So that was. So then you went to bars. Did you already have the rods and reels?
Yeah, we had some rods and reels, but we changed it through the season and sort of got ourselves kitted out a little bit better for stuff.
What do you reckon it cost you to kit out for that fishery?
You got to be talking 10, 12 grand.
It's got to be up. Yeah, it's got to be up around that. Yeah. Each time you buy, we found that, especially the commercial side of things, because we like to fish them in the rail. We don't do the stand-up stuff because
we fished out the rail last year. Yeah,
it's got to be a minimum of an 80 wide reel. 50s you can handle it, but if once you got the gear out. As soon as you go to a 50 to try and crank that bar in quick to get onto the other rod, it's a nightmare.
It's too slow.
Because he had a 50 set up. He caught tuna, but it's the fact of you got to try and it hasn't got the power to get the bar in quick enough. I found because I had 130s that I bought a couple of old setups, like a big 130 ST Internationals. Lovely reels, weren't they?
They got a hell of a wind on them.
Yeah, they were lovely reels. That
reel.
rod that they were
the
on
rod
was just
like
too stiff. It just didn't bend. We had like 85-inch tuna on it that the rod just didn't bend. There was just a tap on the tip where the tail was beaten, and it would just be the tiniest amount.
We were using 130 gears last year, and it wasn't until you got them under the boat that rod would put a bit of bend in when they're vertically underneath the boat. But Dom, who fishes in our WhatsApp group, he's called Dom 130. Because all his setups are 130. And I get it. When you want to retrieve a bar in, you're like, 5 turns and that thing's in from 50 yards out.
But it didn't work out one day. We hooked one. Anyway, and what were you doing? 12, 15 knots? And I'm whacking this gear, coming across the surface. And I could see this fin tracking the bar. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And, bang, off that one went.
It hit that speed,
we already had 2 tuna on board, so we didn't want
the engine. It hit it, and the fish was about 90 inches. Oh. And I was doing 15 knots at the time that it hit it.
This thing, it locked on.
You could do 3 a day, though, couldn't you?
But we already had 2. We had 1 on, and then obviously this other one hit it as well.
2 on the deck,
right?
Hooked up to 1, so I've
I understand. Sorry, see, that was number 4.
Yeah, that would have been number because we hooked up to the first one where we had 2 bars out the back. First one's hooked up, so I've gunned it. He's gone to wind in the other rod, and I was doing 15 knots. I wasn't going slowly.
If you gun it just to make sure that hook is set.
So we gunned it, but then that fish came towards the boat then. So
I whacked the drag up and then he guns it. So the hook's properly set.
So I've throttled on more because he came towards the boat to try and... Basically, we worked it as long as with that drag up, there was line coming off the reel, you had enough pressure on. But this other fish was just kamikaze. I'm like in the wheelhouse looking at my shoulder going, oh no. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is.
And it had it.
And there was no way he was missing that bar. He was so locked in on the bar. It was ridiculous.
That was our first catch and release that day.
Nice fish to release as well. That's a proper fish.
We just got the other one up. Got him on. Well, we got him alongside. Then we got him on board, and then brought the other one round, and then towed him round for a bit, and off he went, happy as Larry.
Did you find that the bigger fish brought any better money, or was there an appetite for certain size fish?
It's the mid-sized fish. They don't want the really
Yeah.
small ones, and they don't want the really big ones.
What's a mid, like in the 60s and 70s?
Yeah,
or
60s and 70s, really. Yeah.
anything smaller than that just wasn't... Because the money isn't really there on the key, is it? For what
No.
it should be.
Not really,
Everyone
no.
thinks it's like wicked tuna and you're
Not-
bringing in
No,
a
but
50
it's
grand
a
fish.
it's
No,
it's a
Wicked
it's an early.
Tuna's falsified, though, with what you actually see on the TV there. You know, when you're looking at, $25 a pound, they're not getting $25 a pound, realistically.
plus
Even
all
the
theirs
skippers
going
would
to
say
Japan
that
anyway.
themselves.
And the dollar versus the pound is a different thing when you
Yeah.
do the conversion.
You know, if we started off getting about £20 a kilo for it. We're happy with that number for the fish of that weight. That's a nice number, but it doesn't stay like that, and it's a fragile market. You know, we hit it hard and we hit it early purely because we went.
Not everyone was doing it.
Yeah,
really, that's
once
the
everybody
thing.
else starts landing, that's going to start knocking that
That's
price.
that's what we thought. I mean, the price did drop slightly, but it has.
What was your
regained
worst
itself,
price?
Well, we had one Friday market, and we had one big tuna that dropped to £8 a kilo. That's the lowest we got all year.
Yeah.
But then some of the boys have had it drop as low as like £3-4 a kilo numerous times.
We were
which
quite.
I assume has got more to do with what they're doing. with
Yeah,
the
I think
fish.
that's the
Well,
dispatching
yeah.
of the fish, the bleeding of the
Yeah.
Well, we
fish.
were quite actively. We'd done the research of how to dispatch them properly, bleed them, what you had to do with them to keep them at their, try to get them at their pristine for the market, and then we actively phoned up Brixham and that to try and get feedback from the people who were buying it and the auctioneer to see if
We
we
were
could
asking
do
if there's
anything
anything
else
else
to
we
the
could do.
fish that they would want us to do to get the fish at the best quality for them. But they were happy with what we were doing, so that's what we carried on.
It's a funny
Maintain-
market to be cracking into in the UK, isn't it? There's not...
Brixham
Yeah.
are doing, I've got to be honest, Brixham are doing a really good job with it. You know,
Yeah.
Speaking to one of the auctioneers, John, he was, ringing me up once I put in my paperwork saying there was tuna coming up. He's like, have you got pictures? Have you got this? Have you got that? So we
Yeah,
can
they
start
wanted
getting
pictures
stuff
for
out
the
to
buyers
buyers
and-
and everything like
I
that.
think so
They've
the
been
buyers can
brilliant.
advertise where it's come from and like
Yeah.
Southwest caught British caught tuna, all that type of thing. So there, I think, but it's just the infrastructure's at its early stages at the minute. People are not going to invest loads of money into it because it's only a
It's
trial
still down
commercial
as a trial
fishery.
fishery, so everybody's a bit like, we don't want to
That's-
pour loads of
yeah.
money in if it's
Were
just
you
a trial.
using those body bags?
Yeah.
Not because really it's totes, isn't it? You want them in, but then you need a much bigger deck to carry all that ice with all those
The
totes.
bags were fine, but we found that they're
You get one side warm, wouldn't you?
slightly short though.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
you had anything, I don't know what size bags you had, the ones we had, you'd get up to about, 70, 75 inch. With the ice that you needed in there, you couldn't do the zip up on the top. That was one of
Yeah, we were all right with the
we were
ones.
all right with
Yeah.
ours.
that's one of the problems we had. And then we'd get them in the bags, slush them down like we were probably doing what you were doing, gutting them on the boat, everything goes over the side, packing them full of ice, putting ice all around them, getting some water in there to slush it down. You get that boat, you get that fish down to Brixham 2-3 hours later. The fish that was side down in that ice, frozen. You touch the top of it, which didn't have as much ice on, still a bit of warmth to the top of it.
Yeah, there was
We
a
couldn't
little
cover
bit
them
going on.
completely in ice in those
No.
bags.
Yeah.
It's the one problem we had.
And there's no real way of sort of avoiding that, really,
On
because we
smallish
haven't
boats is
we haven't got the
awkward
room
thing,
to
innit?
do it. You know, we had one fish there that was all bar 90 inches, and we had him in a flipping one of the bags. It took up a fair wedge of the deck, and his tail was still hanging about 2 foot out the end
Dave
of the bag
Bond had a
as well.
fish like that last year. I saw the photo of it coming back in, and the tail's hanging out the back of the bag. It's nothing to do with the angler, like with the fisherman. It's just you can only have those bags only go to a certain size, and next to start chopping the head off out there and all the rest of it. You
Well,
know,
That's
They
it, yeah.
they won't let us chop. You know, they won't let us chop tail off or head off or anything like. We can't actually dress the fish because they go, we need a chance to be able to see the fish before you've dressed it. You know, like they do in America. Obviously, they cut the head off and everything like that, and it gets blast frozen. We can't do anything like that because the MMO go, we need a chance to be able to see it and stuff. And the amount of times you had a phone call the next day, we wanted to see that tuna, but it wasn't on the key when we looked this morning. Yeah, well, in the email it clearly states
You got to give 2 hours notice, didn't you, before you could land it? Didn't you have to give them? We had to give them a heads up last year.
They changed it because they said that with the speed of some of the boats and stuff like that, like if we're working 10 mile offshore and we're steaming in at 18 knots, we can't give 2 hours notice. We're on land before that even happens. There's no way of us being able to do it without waiting around for them. And I think, how many times did we get checked through the year? Probably 2, 3 times.
Got checked once.
3 times, maybe?
Three times. But obviously we got the NMO's office is actually...
A lot of them, they came down because a lot of them never even seen a bluefin tuna before.
That's more than what it was. The guys turned up just to see it.
Yeah.
Every time we landed tuna on Brixham last year, it was people wanted to have a photo next to it. Yeah. When it was on the pallet, they're all lying down next to it, doing all this sort of stuff. It was because you got rockfish right up behind you. The restaurant.
Of course you have. Yeah.
They'd see that thing. They'd see it coming up on the crane. Next thing, you got 50 people with photos. Because we used to start stitching the photos up. Like, there'd be a load of lads, everyone would be discreetly getting their ass out and stuff like that. Just trying to ruin everybody's pictures. It's a fish key, anything goes,
Yeah.
But one of the things we used to come up, we'd be looking after them, and you've got them in these bags, and then they'd turn up with a pallet, and they get stuck on a pallet.
That's the thing that we never understood. They get sent up all nice and iced in these bags and stuff, and then you see a picture of your fish on the auction the next morning. It's like
it's on a pallet
in the air, and you're like, brilliant.
It's been in the freezer with all those other
air burn to it as well.
And there's that.
That's another thing we're looking at.
Trying to get it next year for that
to protect the rice paper
or whatever paper they put on it to try and preserve the skin colour.
Yeah, because I'm sure, when you walk it. No disrespect to Brixham Fish Key, very clean place, all the rest of it, run to the highest standards. That room's got where all those boxes of fish are, especially when they got the dogfish and stuff like that in it, and some of the shellfish, it's not sat on that ice. No. And there's just that smell of fish that you get from being in that situation. Well, those tuna, I'm sure, are going to take on some of that into that skin. That just general... like you said about that burn just from being out in the air, I'm sure they should be in some big vats of just ice, some big coffins, basically. Mark Jory invested in some for the Nicky V. They had these huge, great big toes.
Oh, we've seen them.
Yeah, but I used to see them. I used to see them on the quay. Yeah. They'd come out of theirs, and Brixham didn't have ones big enough, so they used to cut the tail off to throw them to put them in there. Because I was like, is that the better option? Do we cut the tails off? And we start putting them in these, do we leave them on pallets? And no one down the quay had an answer for us. So you're guided by the people you're unloaded to, don't you?
It's too early yet. There still needs to be a couple more years for us to figure all of this stuff out is the thing. Being on the trial for 1 year is brilliant, been amazing to be part of. But you can't really fully start learning it until you've done at least 2 years.
And you need consistently the same people on that. If they do what they did, so obviously last year there was 10 boats, only 5 got renewed, so that brought in 8 new boats. Well, if they do that again next year, you haven't then got guys who have got this experience of, Ant Hill, Chris Gill are the only ones that spring to mind that are now 2-year veterans of that fishery.
A couple of the boys down in Cornwall are some of the Cornwall Association boys.
You don't know them.
You need the boats.
You need the quota fillers this year
to fulfil their quota. This is the biggest thing for the MMO, because whatever quota is given to the commercials, that quota needs to be done in its fullest.
Yeah,
because then it gives them an argument to go to ICAT and say we need more quota. Because without that quota being met, they got no grounds for an argument of we need more quota. Well, why? You haven't done the quota we give you.
Next year we need quota filling boats because next year's the year where they go to ICAT and ask for more. And without there being a commercial quota in the UK, they can't run a recreational fishery because they have to have quota sat there for mortality. So as much as recreationals are against it, they need all of it.
I don't think they should. I think the guys that are again, I was 100% against that commercial fishery. When
it's got to be done right, though.
Well, when I heard but mine was more of an ignorance thing. So. Last year, you started to hear early in the year rumours, there's a recreational fishery coming. I've made no bones about it. I've been out there fishing long before there was a recreational fishery, but I wasn't stupid enough to plaster my stuff all over social media. My take on it was, these fish are on my doorstep. I'm a catch and release angler. I'm going to go and target these fish. So, yeah. And you just think at some point, they're telling us they're these endangered species. You're like, well, I don't think you've seen how many are out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, so last year we heard rumours coming through that we're going to get a recreational fishery. And then that didn't come through. We got commercial. And I was like, hang on a second. Why can't we have catch and release? But these boys are allowed to go out there and slaughter them was my take on it.
Without the allowance.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. And then when you also spend as much time out there as me and my mates do recreational fishing, and you realise how many are actually out there. And then like when we first started this, you were saying about how fish are changing on the wrecks and all the rest of it. There actually needs to be something where we need to be able to keep I don't know, cull's the right word, but
no, it's
managed numbers. There's a lot.
It's a control effort.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's not a go out there and try and get rid of as many as possible. That's not what we want.
No.
The tuna are...
That quota that you've been given doesn't even dip your toe into how many are out there, do you?
Oh, good grief, no. Nowhere near it.
Yeah, I know.
Nowhere near it.
I
wouldn't even like to try and
stuff. It's more than that in one shoal.
Yeah. When you get there was a day off a start point. I'm going to say it was very early September. There was a mile of glitter from scales in the water as we were coming up to this washing machine. And we got to it. We were like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. It was unbelievable. I've seen before that, the previous year, me and my mate had seen a ginormous washing machine, like the Mega Bust. Yeah. This one dwarfed that. There was probably a few thousand birds going in. Yeah. I hate to think how wide this thing was and how many fish were in there. Me and my mate are staring at it. I've got it on my phone. We're recording it. And I'm panning across doing this. And I've gone from one side of my deck, gone all the way one gunner, all the way across the back of the boat, all the way around the other side. And it's just everywhere as far as the eye can see. That is more than what the quota is.
Oh, without a doubt.
That is more than, I mean, like you were saying, I've fished overseas. I've never seen anything like the level of fish that's up here now. Even in places that are known to be phenomenal bluefin tuna grounds, you've never seen anything like it.
There's guys, when I went out to Florida to the ICAST show, I'm chatting because I went out for, bar ideas, let's see who's doing what. And I started talking to this guy called Max, and he's he's on the Shimano stand. He is a charter skipper and a commercial skipper doing bluefin stuff. Had his details on WhatsApp, on Instagram, and I was sending him videos of these washing machines in the early part of the season. He's like, I've never seen anything like it. And these are the boys that are fishing on out on the banks in America, George's Bank and all the rest of it, and fishing out of Maine and all this sort of stuff. The legit tuna fishing guys. And they're like, we haven't seen top water like that in 20 years. Because I was trying to get him over. I was like, come on, mate, get on the plane.
They got the depth of water. That's one thing that you notice in other countries where we've got, all right, we've got the herds deep and stuff, but mainly we've got like 250 foot.
We've got a lot of bait as well, which a lot of those guys haven't got the bait.
But they got that bait in a smaller area because it's shallower. Those fish find that bait easier. It takes a lot longer when you go into like Biscay and places like that where you're dropping off over 2,000 foot. Yeah. If those fish are working that shelf to find that bait, it takes those fish a lot longer to drive that bait to the surface.
And they've generally obliterated it before it gets up there.
And half the time they've done it before it's got to the surface.
That's what we're finding now. Like, we haven't seen those washing machines since the end of September, really. No. But at the same time, the sprat side of it starts tailing off. From my understanding of sprat, they breed down on the bottom. A lot of the other bait fish that comes in now is a lot more bottom based.
That's it.
And by the time they get to the top, they've batted it all. Because we'd go out that day. I rung you. You were down on the Catlins. We come down and joined you. We got there that day, and every time I moved the boat, my plotter just had these massive red balls of bait.
That's all we had. We were going through that day, and you had the balls of bait, and as opposed to what you see some days where you have the ball of bait, just under it you'll have all the arches. Yeah. You had the ball of bait, and right next to it was the arches where they were deeper down, and you could see fish around you. You're driving around going, oh, come on, something's got to eat the bar, surely. Yeah. You were driving around through absolutely all of it trying to find stuff, and it was everywhere, but you could not for love and the money hook up.
They're dialed in on bait.
Yeah, they're focused in on that bait, that's it.
It's the same again now. My phone is just daily, I'm getting messages from people. oh, hi, we're struggling at the moment. I'm dropping bars right on top of their heads. We can't get a take. Just now they're like little barrels out there. Every single one we catch is really,
I can
really
imagine
fat.
now, yeah.
They've gorged themselves on bait. I think a lot of the bait is a lot deeper down, and by the time they get to the top, they sort of lollop like a dolphin does. There's none of that aggressive, really hard feeding.
Lot of that. Yeah, I've noticed that.
That slow feeding is the hardest type of feeding to catch from. Whether you're casting, you're towing bars, whatever. The only method really then is going to be live bait and to pick out those deeper fish that are feeding properly. It's the only way of doing it. You cast a lure into a shoal of fish that are feeding slow. Try and keep 100 gram soft plastic in that top section where they're feeding, but work it slow is impossible.
Yeah, I agree.
You just won't hook up because it's moving too fast for them.
I think they're at the stage that they're thinking about going as well. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be long.
No, if we get a load of cold snaps like we've got at the moment, a load of cold water pumps out the rivers, we get a bit of rain with that cold as well. Yesterday looked lovely out there. I was still on the beach walking the dogs thinking,
I've been in short.
No, but Berry Head, man, sick, because when you stood inside, were you out yesterday?
Yeah.
Where were you?
At the Eddystone.
Was it horrible?
It wasn't very nice.
Were you both out there?
No, I didn't go.
You skipped it.
I'm too smart to go and do that stuff this time of year.
I ain't.
I took one look at the weather and thought,
what was the fishing like?
Crap.
Was it? Oh, we live and learn though, don't we?
Oh, that's it, yeah.
So you're just about to change your boat, aren't you?
Yeah, just in the process.
Do you want to talk about that? You happy to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm happy talking about it.
So you're going from your 7 metre cheetah to
an offshore 25 on shaft.
Shaft, quite a rarity. And is that because you want to be more geared up for the tuna next year, or do you think it gives you just a better platform to fish from next year?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. It'd be really difficult to look at it and go, oh, I'm going to gear up for the tuna, because you can't do it because you're not guaranteed to get that.
Does that worry you that you could not have it next year?
It does worry me.
It is because of the pollock. This year was the first year we didn't have the pollock, other than the 100 kilo bycatch, which now is changed to 200.
Tuna's safe.
We had the tuna, so that was a little bit of a buffer, or we invested a lot of that money into more tuna stuff. And
you can't feel the pure profit until the second year because of all the money you spent out.
Yeah,
and there's still going to be a running cost of kit for that year.
Of course,
but it's going to be a fraction of what.
Well, we didn't have
instead
all
of
the
12, it
rods
might be
and reels.
2.
Yeah, we won't be buying rods and reels.
Well, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Which is the main stuff. But with everything changing with the fishing, we went up to Portland early part of the year, which I've never been up. He's been up there before a couple of times, but we're adapting our fishing areas now and moving further afield because it's what we've got to do to.
What took you up to Portland then?
But just for the bass fishing.
I've been up there a few times before, and I know what it's like up there. I've seen the fishing when it's good up there. I've seen the fishing when it's not good up there. But I knew that we were coming into a time of year, and we found out that Plymouth market was closing.
Yeah,
and it was almost
decider.
It was almost a good excuse, really, to go right. Well, our fish is going to have to go on transport no matter what we go and do. So why don't we go up there, as it's going to slow off in Plymouth now? Let's go up there and go and have a go up there for.
Does the bass fishing slow up that way later in the year, or do they just hold bass longer through the year?
The middle of the summer now is slow up there.
Right, okay.
The middle and then it gets to late autumn and it starts to pick back up again, as long as you've got the weather to be able to get out there. But obviously up there is a little bit more weather orientated.
Yeah. we brought my mate's boat. My mate bought this Seal 22 sailing boat. And he was based, he's Royal Auxiliary, so he was based in Portland. So he had this boat on a mooring. And I was like, yeah, I'm well up for sailing that back with you. He had like a 6 horsepower Honda on it. It went meh constantly, and we had to go through that. And it was either go like 3 miles round it, or you can cut up the inside.
So literally on the rocks.
On the rocks.
So we went up the inside, and you're like, okay, no. But you got the shambles. Is it the shambles bank, the other side?
Bank there, yeah.
Is that where you were doing some of your fishing, or you were still out?
We were exploring all the areas. We
just went.
It was great. I thought it was fantastic.
Did you take both boats up? Did you?
Yeah.
And just stay up there.
Yeah. Well, we put the boats up there, and we were just flitting back and forth. Stay up there for a couple of nights, sleep on board,
sleep on the boats.
Yeah.
with a diesel heater without any heating.
Well, I don't need it. It was didn't need the heater that time of year, but yeah.
Yeah, I was not enjoying the sleeping situation.
Yeah, I'm sure you told me a couple of times you were freezing.
Yeah, I was absolutely I was in a sleeping bag and I'd wake up in the morning so stiff with like condensation in and around me and stuff, and it was like, oh.
So your cheetah did have a closed wheelhouse, and it wasn't one of the opened. No, it was like a cuddy. You did have
it was a proper closed wheelhouse, but it just made no difference. It was just freezing, which is quite a big reason for getting this next boat. Is just to have that comfort. Because I probably will go up again to Portland start of next year. Will probably be the plan again. At least this time,
annual event, actually, won't it?
Well, yeah. At least this time I'll have a heater and stuff and
a kettle.
Criteria was 2 berths, shore power, heater, kettle,
inverter, air fryer.
See, this is what I said.
Air fryer, mate.
I said this the other day.
Fortuna's got this air fryer. Mate, I was cooking southern fried chicken, taking it back out, wrapping it up with a load of cheese inside of it, put it back in the air fryer again. We were doing the burgers the same. I'll cook all the burgers, put them in the buns, and then put them back in the air fryer and toast the buns up. 11's pound du chocolats in the air fryer to start with. Changes the game, I'm telling you. A cup of coffee, 11's.
You are not cut out for it in a Fibromat. That's all I can say. If you think you're doing that on a Fibromat.
Exactly. It's different when you're on a 42-foot cat. And you can put this generator on and you're running the air fryer and the kettle's going. And while you're waiting for the air fryer, you got the chocolate bourbons on the go with your cup of tea. Like, life's not. It's a nice place to be.
What a way to slum it.
Yeah, I know. It's a rough life, mate. But I was willing to take one for the team. It was absolutely fine. But it makes the whole. With what you're going to do with your boat, it just makes it
easier. You know, at least then you're not trying to flip and make a hot noodle from a flask of hot water in the middle of the day. You know,
if you've not got an inverter on yours,
well, that rubbish. Flask of hot water. That's it. I did take a little camping stool up the Portland. We did have a cup of tea in the morning or a cup of coffee.
Yeah, you just need some luxuries just to take the edge off of life, don't you?
My luxury was hot water from him. With coffee, but then I didn't have a spoon or anything to stir it with, so I had to use a slow jig then to stir my coffee every morning.
Yeah, see that offshore 25 will be a different.
It'd be a different breed for me. It would make a massive difference with a lot of stuff.
How's your setup? Has it got like the table and chairs, like the bench arrangement in there, or
it's got a bench seat port side, but it hasn't got a table. But that is something that I'm looking at. Maybe I would change that.
Because this one's on the registry, isn't it? So it's been
ready to go.
Yeah. So they have been fishing from that. So it's not like you see. There's one on Find a Fishing Boat at the moment. That red hold one, I think it's about 42 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But they're kitted out for guys that are doing. I don't even know. It's someone who's had his own private fishing boat.
Yeah.
So they're kitted out a little bit different. There's a few more luxuries on board.
Yeah, there's not many luxuries on it, but there's room for luxuries to be put on it. Eventually.
So it's going to have a bit of a refit this winter?
Not necessarily a refit, but there's going to be some little bits added and a couple bits changed.
That sounds fun. But apart from that, it's ready to go.
Near enough, yeah. It's just getting it through
all the electronics on there. You're not going to upgrade it or anything like that?
I doubt it, really. Again, might add a few bits and stuff just for what I would like to have on there, maybe.
Yeah, but fair enough.
You know, it's no different to what I did with my current boat, really. Started off with certain stuff and have ended up with completely different of everything.
It's nice to go and use it first, isn't it? I've been guilty of this so many times. I've gone and bought something, I want this. Yeah. Do I use it? No. Like, I've just stuck outriggers on my boat because I really wanted outriggers. Yeah. Do I really need them on there?
They're just there because they look cool.
Is that Chinese Dave?
Chinese Dave, yeah, Chinese Dave.
We had a right laugh.
The legend that is Chinese Dave, like that. So that's named.
Yeah. Do you know, I didn't know that was your boat until the day I looked through this list of recreational boats came out. I'm looking through it and I went,
he's going, listen to some of these names here.
It's called their boat, Chinese Dave. And then I heard you on the radio, Chinese Dave, and I thought,
So that came from, the lad who is my right-hand man with all the storage, all the removal stuff, Dave, amazing lad, and he's as English as they come.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely as English as they come. We're in this job one day and we had this, I suppose you'd call her a spinster in the old term, She was lived on her own her whole life, bit of a cat lady, very direct with what she said. And we're walking in to do this job in the morning. I'm halfway through drinking a can of Red Bull, and she's looked Dave up and down. She goes, "You look a bit Chinese with them slanty eyes." And I've just spat Red Bull all over her hallway. And I was like, "Oh my God, she thinks you're Chinese." 2 weeks later, someone else said it to him. Well, since then, quite a few people have done it. Even recently, one lady came back after a removal thinking he was Mongolian. He'd done some research into it, and she was like, "I think because of this with your eyes, it's more Mongolian." And I needed a name for that boat, and I sat there. I had a Wilson Flyer 23 that was called Naughty Jim. So we had Naughty Jim, which my mate came up with. I don't know where it came from. And I was like, "I need a name for this boat. I was like, Chinese Dave. And it makes everybody laugh. That's the thing. Yeah. Like, whenever I phone up and go, when we're down in Falmouth for the comp, because my trailer broke, I needed to leave it down in Premier. So I rung them up, like, "What was your boat name? Chinese Dave." And people do that. They just laugh down the phone. Like, it's just an amazing name. So even when I swap that boat, Chinese Dave will be...
Yeah, you got to take out with it.
Well, I haven't got... So the boat was actually called something else when I bought it, but it had no name on it. And I've never actually stuck Chinese Dave on it. So it would just get sold as my boat, and Chinese Dave will come across to the next boat. Like, it's just... It's too good a name. It makes me giggle every single time.
Oh, definitely.
Mark Jury gives me a bit of grief for it. Oh, I think it's a great name. Yeah. What's your boat called?
Gloria Rose.
What's yours called?
Current one's called Fair Maiden.
What's the new one called?
Well, there's a situation surrounding this, which is the bloke that did have the boat was going to keep the name and the numbers. And if he kept the name and the numbers, I wanted to call it Banshee.
Okay.
I then got banned from calling it Banshee by my mum, who looked up what a Banshee was and said, "Oh, this means bringing the death of a family member."
Right.
So I've now been banned from calling it Banshee, but I think he's leaving the name now, so it's going to be called The Mistress.
The Mistress. Oh, your girlfriend's going to love that. Because it basically is The Mistress. You spend more time sneaking off on that than you do.
I don't think she's a fan, but I think she's also kind of like, it makes sense. So, you know, it's one of those really.
Yeah, see, my wife wants me to name the boat after the girls.
Yeah, that's where my name's come from. It's come from my mother and my nan.
Yeah,
my
see?
Granddad years ago had a commercial crabber with that name. So I took on that name.
Well, there you go.
And my numbers are from the actual trawler I used to work on years ago.
But then if I put my three daughters' names together and tried to come up with something, I've got like this American fast fishing tuna weapon, which is going to be called what, you know? Yeah. Three girls' names.
That's kind of what I thought when thinking about naming the boat. Because he went, "Oh, why don't you use your mum's name or something?" I'm looking at the name that's going to come out with it, and I'm just going, "Nah, that's just going to be a mouthful, really."
Yeah. It's a hard one with boat names, isn't it? It's you never know where you're going to go with it. But a lot of the the commercial fleet are sort of like a female-based name, isn't it? It's or something to do with the sea, like Sea-Watch or
I think it used to be
Lord of the Waves or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
it used to be a tradition, I think, years ago to try and name them after the female family members. Years ago.
Yeah, it's a hard one. So what numbers are yours going to have on there then? It's not going to be... What are Plymouth numbers?
P8.
PH?
Yeah, I've got 5'8".
I will change it. I don't know exactly what PH numbers it's going to be yet, but it's lower staff numbers, so I'm going to change that to Plymouth numbers.
Yeah, when we did the offshore, we ended up with BM888 was the best that we could come up with. They wouldn't let us, so we wanted to call... So I didn't... Sorry, Mike, but I didn't actually like this name. They wanted to call it Massive Busts. Right, which when it's a tuna fishing boat, I do get it. They've got these two like tiki like model girls in there with these massive boobs, these models on the dashboard. They wanted to call it Massive Bust, but the MMO wouldn't let them call it that.
Why?
No, wouldn't let them call it. So they went back and said, "Can we call it Petros Grandes?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can call it that," which is Spanish for massive busts. They got away with that one.
Says a lot about the MMA.
Yeah, got away with that one. Yeah, so it became Petros Grandes instead. Because they were I was trying to come up with all these names for a tuna boat. Oh no, we're going to call it Massive Busts, and I was like, I get it. I don't know if I would call my boat that, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty funny name. But yeah, the MMO just would have absolutely none of it. And then we had to pick our numbers, and like we're quite a long way down now because the Nicky V's like DH1. Trying to find any of those low
You
numbers.
can, when you register your vessel, Cardiff, you can actually phone them up and see what the lowest numbers.
Yeah, no, that's what we could do.
Yeah.
The lowest numbers, they were just obliterated. We're all into triple digits.
That's what I want, really. I want single digit, if anything. I'd want like PH5 or something like that.
You'd be lucky with anything.
Yeah. Even, because what's he in? Ace is high. He's like PL. He's 1 or 2 digits, isn't he? And I'm guessing he's been at it a while.
PH12 or something.
Yeah, it's quite a low one.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be hard to get one of those lower numbers.
I got 5.8 because I knew the trawler that had
What have you got? Sorry, 5.8.
5.8 because the trawler it was on when my uncle sold it, went to Bideford, and then he got sold, and then it got taken off the registry, and it went to an angling boat. So I knew PH 5.8 was available. So no other boat, as far as I was aware, had it. So I basically phoned Cardiff and asked if it was available. I'll put that to one side for you for when the paperwork comes in. So I was lucky with that.
So did you buy, to get that number, did you bought another boat that obviously already on the registry, had its numbers?
Well, I had my licence from my previous boat. And basically I took my licence from there. And when I got my new boat, I had to apply for a new registry for it. And that's where I got the PH58.
So you managed to change it at that stage, take the old numbers away.
Yeah. The old numbers stayed on the...
So are the numbers to do with the licence? Are they for the boats?
No, they're for the boat. It's the registry. It's the actual registration. The licence is a totally different thing.
That's in your personal name?
Yeah.
And what do? Just they put that licence to that boat, or because you own that boat, that licence automatically goes across?
No, that licence has got to meet the criteria of the engine size and the tonnage
and all the rest of it.
Yeah. It's like for you, if your RSS number being on the registry.
SSR.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. SSR. 197200. That's what mine is. Memorised it. But I've had to do it so many times, although I've got a horrible feeling. I know what my permit number is, and it ends with a 6, and I think I've been filling out half the season with a 9 on the end of it. So I did it the other day. I went to put it in. I was like, hang on, is that the right number? When in checked, I was like, oh, bloody hell. So I might have only caught half the fish, and there might a guy with a permit number which doesn't even know. He's caught an absolute boat. He's got a boatload of fish. So I'm too scared to ask him. That's the problem, because I don't want to be going.
Well, you don't want to highlight it.
Well, I just have it now. It's out there for the general consumption.
Yeah, you're going to get a phone call now.
I doubt anybody's listening to this one, hopefully, but.
You'd be surprised what people are and aren't watching. They were watching our Facebook all year.
Really?
Yeah, we got reported and everything. I got phoned by the MCA, the MMO, the works.
What for? No life jackets?
Stuff like that. It's just ridiculous stuff.
Because that is like a hard and fast rule. You've got to be on the...
Yeah, it's mandatory for us to wear it.
Okay, we'll move on from that one.
Yeah. So we were wearing life jackets. Just in one video clip, he took his life jacket off. That was
it's hard if you...
It is hard when you're working around the rods and that. It is hard to have that around you as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, I had one of these, and it was an MCA guy who knows Mike. He was in the boatyard talking to Mike. He goes, oh, you know the guy from Tuna Gear, don't you? Oh, yeah, I know, Andy. Tell him to wear a life jacket in his videos. Because in all of my videos, I've never got a life jacket on. But you try putting a harness on with a life jacket on. You've got to take the life jacket off.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't try to argue it is because all the rest of the video is got me with no life jacket on. I'm a bugger for it. I've got them on the boat. I just never wear them. I should wear them.
Well, yeah.
It's one of them, isn't it?
It is.
It's all shits and giggles until you end up in the sea.
Well, this is it.
And you giggle and shit, and you ain't got a life jacket on, and it's...
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? But...
Yeah, it's a hard one, that. So, with the new boat coming through, you both got to apply for tuna licences again next year?
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if you both get them? Crew and just go for it?
Catch both
we did say we may end up doing exactly what we've done before, is... I jump aboard him and then he can jump aboard me.
Just go day for day on the boats.
Yeah.
Or if he got to go further offshore, it burns less fuel, or it's cheaper to run. He might go further afield with this boat and do the inshore stuff with mine.
How thirsty is your boat?
Not really. I mean, it's
quite thirsty.
How many litres are you burning an hour?
I would say in a day I'd do about anything from 80 to 100 litres.
Oh, it's less thirsty than mine.
I know, but you're probably doing more miles, bearing in mind, than what you're doing 100 litres for. You're doing what, 3 litres ish a mile and then 2.8 or something?
Yeah.
You worked out at 2.8 ish litre a mile he's doing. I'm doing like 1.6 ish.
Same size boat as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yours
but
stands a lot higher up.
Yeah,
on the
but
nose,
my
isn't
engine
it?
is like twice the size of.
What are you running on your old boat? Twin.
D-rated 75s.
But it's a CC capacity because mine's a.
What could you run
big
at then
lump.
on your boat? What was your cruising speed?
18.
That's
Really?
all right.
Yeah.
18 knots is a good speed to be cruising at.
That'd be the same in the
definitely.
next one.
Yeah.
18 knots again, cruising.
Yeah, a couple of ECU. You'll be giggling. Get some even better fuel consumption.
Got a funny feeling I'm not going to need to do it, to be honest with you. If I'm doing 18 knots through most weather, I'm quite happy.
You'll be going to red diesel as well, won't you? That's got to be cheaper than the petrol for you.
It works out about the same, weirdly.
Yeah, because we get the road fund duty back and the VAT.
The what? Duty back?
On the petrol that you buy in the forecourt, which we do, we don't buy from the marina because it's extortionate prices.
£2 a litre, £2.20 a litre.
Well, basically, that what you pay on the forecourt has got
57p a litre
57p
duty on it.
duty on it. So we get that back and the VAT on top. So it works out just over half price.
Works out literally exactly the same with diesel because you're not paying the duty up front. So you're like 60p-ish a litre.
Obviously, you've got to pay that up front. And then once you get over, I think it's £200 to claim back, then you can reclaim it back. But I'll do it with a VAT return.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I thought petrol would have. I thought going to diesel would have been the cheaper option. Didn't know that about the petrol.
All bar the same.
The
only difference is your upfront cost with diesel is a lot less.
Mm.
It's the only difference for all of it. So I'm all bar the same, but I'm happy being all bar the same. If I'm going to get a bit more comfort, it's quite a lot more room really. Because
I get a load more deck space.
I go from 2.3 beam to 3 metre beam, and just under 8 metres long.
Have you got the engine hatch in yours poking up on the deck, or is it flush?
No, I've got the engine hatches up on the shaft, which I'd prefer anyway because I do want to be able to put my cool boxes along the top of it because it's just
keeps out of the way. You can just walk around it.
Yeah, you've already going to have to walk around it anyway because you're not going to walk out onto the deck to go and stand where your rod is and go up onto the top of the engine box. So you may as well have your cool boxes.
Some of them are real low down, and then the other ones have got a bit of height
it's like
to
that. Yeah, slightly higher. It's a nice setup. It's got rails and stuff there, and it was designed specifically to fit the type of cool boxes I've got.
Oh, so they just
slot straight in on this top railing so they can't slide anywhere.
Oh, perfect.
Which is ideal because there's a job that doesn't need to be done then. So
yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, I think some people are not going to be best pleased about me having an inboard engine, but
why is that?
Well, they reckon it spooks the fish in the shallow water. That's the first comment, wasn't it?
Mike talks about this. He spent a fortune on that offshore, putting a silencing exhaust system in there. Was not cheap, $1,000 or something like that. Because he was convinced that the tuna was spooking off of it. And I was like, you look at some of the other boats that are going out there, dog.
Exactly.
Like, I don't buy into that.
Well, you can't tell me that if you look at all these tuna that are right up next to these beam trawlers and they're completely unfazed.
Yeah, feeding off the side of the nets and all the rest of it.
What difference is it going to make on a smaller inboard diesel?
It makes any difference on the tuna fishing.
Yeah, no, I'm not convinced either.
Bass fishing, it does a little bit, but majority of the time you can drift fish anyway. So
just go through.
Do you switch your engine off when you're on a drift?
Yeah.
Turn off, restart anyway.
Yeah, not drifting through with the engines running.
Are you going to put dual controls on yours?
Yeah, I will be putting an outside helm position as well.
You worded it properly, an outside helm position. I'm guessing that's pretty important for you guys, what you were saying about...
Yeah, it is. Well, it can be.
I probably won't be doing that style of fishing anymore, to be honest. I was never a massive fan of it anyway.
I haven't done that much of it this year anyway.
You rather just sat me drifting, off you go, and then go back to the start of that drift again.
Yeah,
or you doing more wreck fishing?
More. I do more deep water fishing than I ever did that, to be honest. And I used to get minor anger problems whilst being around other boats. So I'm going, what? Why is he turning this way? And of course, I haven't got outside controls. So I've got one arm is out the door, the other arm is in the cabin, and I'm half in the door, half out the door, and I'm trying to control my rod so it doesn't go in the props, going like that with my hand, and also then do the throttle and the steering with one hand. And when you've got other boats moving in,
With the tackling, your rods and reels that you're using, are you particularly picky? Like, take the tuna side of it out. Are you there? Are you trying to fish as stiff or as heavy as possible? Or are you still?
I like
you
to
just look at them as tools, or do you actually?
No, I like to try and be as finesse as possible. All right, yeah, we are commercial fishermen, but we do like to try and get a little bit of sport out of it.
We're light gear, but not too light.
Yeah. Well, you're like 12 to 20 class rods.
For most of it, yeah, 12 to 20 rods, and obviously we got like casting gear and stuff for the bass as well. And to be honest, that's probably no different to what a recreational would use. The only difference is we probably have slightly heavier braid on, and that's about it. And that's only because, well, we don't want to keep losing lures to the kelp every 5 minutes.
Okay.
But it's no different, really.
Yeah.
I've got gear that I was using when I was recreational fishing that I'm still using now.
How are you rigging up there? Look at the face.
Rods, not reels.
Oh,
rods.
Right, yeah. These
Yeah,
reels
What
never
reels
last.
do you use?
Shimano, Stradic, fixables. And
Oh, you're fixable.
that's for our casting stuff for the
Yeah.
bass, but then for the boat stuff for the bass, I've got all of my reels at Avets, all my multipliers.
Yeah, I've got Accurate and Siegler and Avets.
Stuff that just lasts and lasts and lasts.
It lasts longer, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they are. As much as you want, like you say, you want to fish as light as possible. They're a tool there to go in, earn you some money.
Yeah.
You just want something that it's like with the spinning reels. You just want something that's smooth and light. Same with your multipliers. You know, if you're going to stand out there for 15 hours fishing, you don't want to be using some really heavy reel that you've got to use all day long.
Yeah, no, I get that.
You know, bass fishing, especially with the live baiting, you're going as light as you can possibly go so you can feel every little bite, every little movement of the live bait, but also being heavy enough so that when you want to be quick with it, you can still be quick with it and start cranking. But
so is most of your bass fishing done then on live baits? So you got a Portland rig retrieving sidewinders and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I'd have said we are nigh on 50-50 between live baits and lures. A lot of it now, especially since we fish Portland and stuff more, is like a lot of sidewinders. There's a lot of that now.
You got a colour you prefer?
I'd have said the new glitter colour with the...
Is that the dark one with a bit of red on it? Or the...
No, it's the Candy King colour
Yeah.
they've got. They've now got one that the whole of the body is solid glitter.
Right, okay.
That's my preferred one. It's that glitter with those couple colours down the side of it. That is by far the best.
I'll
like
just use anything that works.
Do you chop and change much?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you've had a couple of drops and there's nothing going on, that comes off onto the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Oh,
There's normally
without a doubt,
a box or some sort of tray or something with an assortment of about 30 different colours of
Yeah.
lures.
Well, if he's
and
going
stuff
past on the drift and he's hooked another one and I ain't got none, what are you using? What size is it? What weight have you got on?
What length trace do you normally use?
That varies. That varies on every day, depending on tide size, what the watercolour's like, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's quite...
Are you using fluoro for that?
Yeah.
Have you got a go-to fluoro?
I use the Yuki stuff. That Yuki, what's it called?
Fluoro coated.
Yeah, it's fluoro coated.
Fluoro coated mono.
Yeah, I'd swear by that. I even got that for some of the tuna stuff as well.
Okay.
Because they do up to £300 of it. Yeah. Oh, I think
It's a good line, that
yeah.
is.
What do you use?
I use Trilene, big game fluoro. That's only purely because I got loads of it cheap from a tackle shop that was closing ages ago. Now I don't want to buy any spools of it because it went from being like £8 a spool to now you go somewhere it's like 28 quid. Really?
Yeah.
Like a 100-metre spool?
Do you go through quite a lot?
Yeah.
Oh.
I go for a lot. I mean, probably go through more than a spool a month.
Well, it's not terrible, but it's not...
That's depending on how many days I'm fishing. If I'm fishing most days of that month, I'm like,
Yeah, go through
Why has
a
my
bit
bin
of
bag
talc.
got 3 spools of fluoro here? Starts getting bad when you start doing that. But
What makes you change it out? It just gets nicks in it. It just
you start getting nicks. You start, like, this year, I think the plankton's been one of the worst ones. Like, you start getting plankton almost like stains the line.
right. Then it's not invisible anymore, and it's
Yeah, it's just half the time it's just some sort of excuse I'm not catching. I look at it and go, oh yeah, that's definitely the reason
That
I'm
or
not
the
catching
lures in
it.
the wreck, so you got to change it anyway.
Yeah, that's it. You come up and go, well, I did have a trace, I haven't anymore, so
out comes another one.
yeah, that's it. But there's all sorts of stuff like that you can
Normal
keep
fishing
going through.
day.
Normal fishing day. Yeah, yeah. You spend more time. Well, I do. I'm a nightmare for losing gear in wrecks. I suppose you get a little bit better at it over time.
You do, but then you get the day that whatever method you try, it's in that wreck.
It's just happening.
You can start 200 meters away from it. You're guaranteed at the end that lure's staying in that wreck.
It's either that or the best one is
Never coming out.
between the two of us, there is always one of us when we go wrecking that goes, oh, I've got another fucking tangle again. And it's only ever one of us each time. So either he'll come over to me and go, I've tangled again, is having a moment. Or
When you say tangled, as in that trace is tangled and we were in the wreck.
it comes up looking like a Christmas tree that
it's
someone's
dropped,
tried to put.
whatever.
Do you use a boom?
Yeah.
Yeah, booms. Sometimes use a boom, sometimes use a free swivel. It all depends on the tide.
See, I was always using a 3-way swivel.
Yeah.
I'm fishing shallow most of the time. Doing nowhere near the amount of fishing that you are.
You can do it in more tide, but you start trying to use, like, we've got less tide down off of Plymouth, but you start trying to use a 3-way swivel when you've got barely any tide, and you will come up every time and you'll be looking and going, right, why has the lure come to the rod tip quicker than the 3-way swivel?
Why's me lure on the rod tip and I can't even see the weight yet?
That bad.
Yeah, it gets terrible. And that's another reason you go through fluoro, because you take one look at it, it's tangled, and you go, right, well, I'm not untangling that. So
it goes like a pig's tail. You've either got to try and steam it all back out again, and it ain't
Bloody
going to come
nightmare.
out properly. Cut is quicker just to cut it and get the gear back down, I'm guessing, for you guys.
Yeah,
well, that's it, yeah.
So what's the rest of the year for you now? You going back to sea, you're on boat refit?
If I get any weather, there might be a last day or two for me, but I'll probably start sorting out the rest of this, and then if I fancy going to sea, I'll probably go out with him and pester him for a day.
Have you got when does your quota of bass finish?
End of December.
How much have you got left to fill?
Oh, we got plenty left this year.
Yeah, there's no way of completing it now. It's too late.
Do they ever come back on you and say you haven't filled enough? We're going to cut some of your quota?
No. They chop and change. There's a big bass change coming in January because the UK are now taking over control of the bass measures, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it talks about the bass also, I'd say.
Stuff, is it? Now got our own.
Well, I think they want more control of on a monthly basis of the quotas. So they can basically, if suddenly 1 month,
if they start seeing a stock crash, they can just
suddenly
go, right, we'll stop it.
Tonnage gets landed at bass the next month, like the other whitefish, they can say, right, we are now reducing your allowance for the month of what you can catch. So it's going to be very interesting in what they're going to come out. And they were on about changing the BAF authorization system. They were on about scrapping it completely. So going back to what it used to be. So all commercial boats can land bass.
We had that conversation, yeah. I remember you telling me about
But
that.
we went to some type of workshop where we banded ideas around, which it's not the greatest of ideas to get rid of it. Now it's implemented because
there's a lot
whoever
of
fishes for bass
around in that room.
Yeah, I've got the authorization. But then they're on about, well, there's loads of different changes that they could implement. What are they going to implement? How are they going to implement them? We never know until it's in black and white and implemented.
We quite literally just get a license variation come through or some form of email that just goes, this has changed, just so you know. And we all kind of look around and go, oh.
That's the trouble. We go to meetings, we band our ideas around, they listen, and then they go away and do what they want anyway. Because they know what's coming.
We have the meetings when it's already been decided what's happening.
Yeah, we had a workshop.
Hear our viewpoint, and then I think they just go back and they go, well, everybody's going to be offended by this, but we've done the meeting before we've told them what's happened, so it's fine. We won't get shouted at now.
Yeah, it's like everything's being implemented in January. Well, you can't tell me 3 months prior to that they already know what's coming in. So why are we having a workshop to discuss measures that are then going to be taken to them? Are they going to listen? I doubt it, because the decision's already probably made 6 months prior to that. Because you know how the government works. Nothing's never done instantly. They take so much time to plan stuff, and then when they implement it, they realise they've done it wrong anyway.
So do you think they could be looking at a change of how the bassing's done with those entitlements?
Well,
yeah, because they were on about the netted bass side of things as well, either reducing or making their allowance be part of a percentage of bycatch from other fish that's caught. So if they want to land a certain amount of bass, they have to catch an awful lot of another species to be able to catch that bass. That's what they're on about implementing for the netters. Well, it's exactly the same as what the trawlers have got now.
If they got away with that how it's done at the moment, doesn't that affect the value of your boats and your?
Well, this is it. Yeah, every boat that's got a bass entitlement now can possibly demand anything from 10 to 15 grand more than what their vessel's worth because of that bass authorization. Take the bass authorization away, automatically you've stripped people of
I've heard
X amount of cash.
Roughly about what a year's worth of bass is worth, but it's between
that
50
grand
and that.
The thing is that depends on how much bass you've caught for a year. Because that's like saying someone that done their quota last year goes to sell their boat.
Only worth
my bass authorization's worth 6.5 ton. If it averages 10 quid a kilo for the year, my bass authorization's worth 65k. So you've got a 13-foot boat that's managed to do his quota, and he goes from being worth 15k to 80k for my boat. People put values on it, and usually it's about 10k that people
it's
say.
Roughly 10 to 15k, depending on how much you want that boat with the bath authorization. If you're prepared to pay the money, then that's how much it's worth.
It's worth what someone's willing to pay for.
Exactly, yeah. But you take that authorization away, it's just a commercial vessel.
With nothing you can really do with
so
it.
you can just catch whatever that license is allowed to catch.
You ain't catching a lot anymore, are you?
You got you'll have the bass automatically with it anyway, because the bass will come under that license if they take the authorization away. So everyone will have an even playing field.
Oh,
that's
so
the
you
thing.
think to get away, even the Cat A guys will get
everyone will have it. But this is the biggest argument I said. You suddenly take that authorization away, and then you go back to the old system. Then everybody can land bass, and if they do, everyone's quota is going to be reduced because now suddenly you've got all the vessels landing, and then for UK take over what we can land, then they're going to look at the other types of fish they've reduced in the past. So every boat will be reduced to 1 ton, 2 ton for the year, which just ain't worth doing. It. It's not a fishery you can do.
Coming?
We don't know.
I don't think in that.
I don't think it will.
Like that, it will.
They're not even that stupid.
Well, it's a government.
See out the other side of it.
Yeah, hopefully they can see out the other side of it.
There's a lot of people calling for it because they're going like, oh, well, now that licenses has changed for other fish, this, that, and other, we should be able to catch bass and stuff. And you just kind of got to go, well, we all paid extra to make sure we had bass entitlements, those of us who bought boats since that's been a thing.
Yeah.
And now...
if they want it, go and buy a bass entitlement.
Well, this is it. This is what's happened.
It's not like they're hard to find.
No, you can buy them.
Yeah. You can get them. I mean, they even could have changed the system so that bass authorizations that aren't getting used can be bought.
So you can buy one off of a boat that's not using it and move it across to your boat.
That's the kind of thing that they should be looking at doing.
That's a great idea.
Because if it's not getting used and you've got all these people complaining they haven't got bass authorizations, why take the bass authorization away from everybody so that everyone catches bass? Or just say, right, well, you can buy the bass authorizations off of other boats, because if people are going to have them either way, at least then it keeps the quota at a sustainable level for everyone then.
Yeah. No right or wrong with anything, is there? Especially when you're dealing with the government.
This is it. I mean, whatever rules they bring in, some people will gain, and some people
will lose. As long as you're on the winning side, you're happy.
Well, that's it.
That's what you've got to pray for, really.
I'm starving. You hungry?
I did have a little bit of a stomach rumble moment a minute ago.
How long have you been running, mate?
2 hours.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
As if by magic.
I'm starving. Are you hungry, Aaron? Yeah, you hungry? There's a pub across the road and I'm starving. So, anything we didn't touch on that you would like to talk about before we disappear and go and have food?
I can't think of anything.
Here's one thing for you.
Yeah, go on then.
What's your take on, for the tuner-in,
Yeah.
obviously the charter boats and recreational, what's your take on the people that actually try and revive them with a bloody great gaff hook in their lip?
I don't like gaffs. I don't understand. I haven't done enough gaff fishing to understand how to use a gaff properly.
Yeah.
I use a set of C-knot lip grips.
Yeah.
Because it's very, there's its tongue, there's the lip grip, grab.
Yeah. We know from personal experience, tuna's heart is in its chin.
Literally just back from its chin.
And I've made the mistake before of swinging a gaff at a fish that we're trying to get into the boat, hitting it in the chin.
Not a bad thing for us.
For us, it's coming.
Oh yeah, it was
ideal.
Dispatching it anyway, yeah.
But hit it in the chin, and the amount of blood that came out of that fish.
It kills it instantly, you straight into its heart.
It just killed it instantly. All the blood came out in one go, and then the water cleared.
I would say that most of the guys who are out there fishing don't know that about where the heart is with it. How much experience they've got with the gaff. I've seen some guys with gaffs and they're very skilled and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're mainly the ex-chart skippers. They're not ex-skippers. They're the skippers that are now did the 3 years of charts. They know what they're doing with it.
Oh yeah,
I've seen some horrendous pictures of like fish vertical alongside the boat with a gaff up underneath its chin, trying to unhook it and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And there is like you have to knock that boat out of gear quickly to unhook to try and get. Once we've lip gripped it, you're then trying to hold it in the lip grips.
Yeah.
We knock it out of gear so we can quickly get that fish unhooked and knock it back into gear.
Yeah.
I've done quite a lot of tuna fishing now. I'm pretty quick, especially with my boat. My gunnels are really low. I can lean on my knees and I take it out. I take the hook out with my hand.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm on full tuna, you can from the side of the boat. They've got this 4 foot long pole with like that pigtail in it, where you got to get in, get the line, and pop the hook out like that.
Yeah.
And I really struggled doing that after a couple of trips. Okay, I know what I'm doing now.
Bit of an art,
but I'm used to just doing it with the hand, little wiggle, pop, out it comes. If it was the Andy Bolt rule of how we are going to have a recreational tuna fishery, it would be it's £1,000 a season. 50% of that money will go to the MMO, and it would go because a month before the season starts, there is a workshop in Falmouth, Plymouth, in Torbay. You have to bring your boat down there with all your equipment, your life jackets, all your bits and pieces they expect you to have on a boat. And if you turn up and you've got all your bits and pieces there and they're happy with it, that's you signed off for a 12-month ticket. Bang, off you go. There wouldn't be a gaff, it would be lip grips.
Lip grip, yeah. I'm surprised that's not part of the MMO criteria.
I'd also be looking at hooks people are using as well, because there's a reason that Tuna Gear doesn't sell poppers, because you go and look at some of our competitors and look at the poppers they're selling, and they are the cheapest Chinese hooks I've ever seen in my life. And they're
double trebled as well. We weren't even fishing double trebles.
Yeah, they're double trebled. There is a recommendation in the fishery this year. It says there's no double hooks, and I read that as no doubles, as in a double hook. Yeah. I read it as that, but even those saltelleurs that I sell, which have got 2 singles on, really one of those hooks should be off. But it's only a recommendation. It's not a rule.
Right. Yeah.
So in the tournament, they were saying no.
I suppose because you think if you were a fish with both hooks, how difficult would that be to try and get both of them out while you've
seen
got
those
the thing alongside?
Seen the slack tide poppers over in Tenerife?
Yeah.
Lovely product. They do some really nice video work. They've got a different fishery to us, so it's hard to judge what this shot is, but they've got a picture of this tuna swimming along, and it's hooked right in the mouth, and the treble is in behind the gill plate, and it's pulling the gill plate open.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to try and get that fish to the boat, unhook one, unhook the other.
Yeah.
We don't need treble hooks.
I've seen some pictures and videos from here in the UK of people using hooks with double trebles, and there's videos of them trying to unhook the fish boat side.
Yeah.
And you're looking, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, when we've had fish that have been double hooked like that, we'll cut them off by the lure. sort the lure out once the fish is in the boat.
Yeah.
And it's difficult enough when the fish is on deck perfectly still.
Let alone
And you see these boys with these unhookers and they're going like that, trying to pop these hooks out. And you just think, you're just going to do damage.
It shouldn't.
To that fish.
There was no. It was a no. I would have had that ruling from day one. You don't. You can't have a recommendation in it. It should have been. If a rule's there, it's black and white. It's not. Oh, here's a recommendation because everyone goes, we all want to use those. So tough.
They're all using trebles, but the thing is like we know, you can have a popper and use an assist hook on it.
Yeah.
Easily, you can rig an assist hook on that popper that you'll catch just as easily as you will with a treble hook.
BKK Diablos, I think.
That's the ones I've got.
Yeah, perfectly good hook.
Yeah.
You know, I think Sidewinder are going to be doing the distribution from them.
Oh, that's handy.
You can get them. The thing is, you can get them on AliExpress for the same hooks. Like I bought a boatload of them over, and they had a deal. One of the guys in the WhatsApp group got me onto it. If it was your first order, they were like £1.58 a pack. So lads were going in, we're using like 3-4 email addresses, opening different accounts, and ordering like 10 packets at a time.
Yeah.
And we're getting them for £1.58 a packet. I think you get 3 or 4 in a packet.
Yeah.
And they're good hooks.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good hooks. So
I was buying decoy specimens from Gigabyte. That's what I was using all my popping lures, and I don't think I had a single one of those even slightly bend. Didn't have a point go hook, didn't bend, nothing.
I used the Bristos for the stingers. You were using the VMCs. We had a couple, not straightened, but they definitely opened.
We had a couple open.
The bigger one.
Yeah.
We had a couple of them just because I said to him, I said, that's pulled it open slightly.
We were putting a lot of pressure on the fish.
Yeah, I think from talking to people, it's more where the hook hold is.
Yeah.
If you go into bone or something like that, you're not getting that hook hold, and with that pressure.
Oh yeah, because we used to whack
you won't get it with the
Briscoe,
so there's no more VMCs going out the door from Tuna Gear.
Yeah.
I just bit the bullet, put Briscoes on, which cost me like £8.33 a hook.
They're not the cheapest.
No, on a £25 product, it's an expensive, but you can't put the price up, and that £25 includes VAT as well.
Yeah.
But I had 20% over for the privilege of running a business.
Yeah.
And then £8 of that's a hook, £3 of that's a bag. You work out the squid. Don't really make any money on stingers, but that stinger is probably the most integral part of that bar.
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
So I love those 9.0 Bristos. We're looking at some other stuff. We had an interesting phone call. Somebody phoned us the other day for once instead of me having to ring people going, do you fancy doing this? Do you want to do that? One of the big guys actually phoned us, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm interested, because we're looking at live bait rigs and bits and pieces next year. But yeah, that was a really long way of answering. I think we should use lip grips, not gaffs. I don't understand them. Basically, he's rad. Yeah. There should be an expensive fee. Tuna fishing is expensive. I'm not trying to push people out of it by any way, shape, or form. No. But I think it should be one of those.
Gives a bit of policing to it, doesn't it?
Gives a bit of policing to it. Gives a bit of like
it looks after the fishery for the
Yeah.
future.
Like, we want to look after this fishery, and it shouldn't be a race to the bottom on tackle. If you want to bring poppers in from China, where I get my squids from, take the crap hooks off and put some decent hooks on it, and charge a bit more for that product.
Yeah.
You can buy a popper from China for like £4. By the time you've changed the split rings out on it and changed those hooks out on it, it's going to make it a £6 popper.
Yeah.
£7, something like that. It's just upsell it a little bit more. Lads want something that's going to work and isn't going to go, oh snap.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it just is what it is. But yeah, I think there should be a license fee. I think it should be an open fishery. I definitely think it should be an open fishery. I don't think it should be like my mate Jack was running around on a Warrior 165 catching fish left, right, and centre, mixing it with every other boat in the fleet. So like those little like what they call like Dijon 14s, probably not the right boat to be doing it.
It's probably doable though.
It's probably doable.
Yeah.
It's more the weather side of it being out there, all the rest of it. That sort of Warrior 165 is the Alaska 500s, whatever you want to be in, something that's capable of taking 2 people to sea.
Yeah.
You design for sea fishing. So maybe a minimum. I think it was 5.5 meters. They capped it at. It was the minimum size of boat.
Oh, I think 16 foot, wasn't it? Because
that's where the Warrior.
Ant's got the smallest in the commercial fleet, because I know they capped that to 16 foot.
Well, there you go. Yeah, what's he got? An Orkney? Is it
Orkney strike liner 16?
Yeah. Yeah. So like, that's not a bad way to go. Anything smaller than that, I don't think you should really be out and sea. You know, you're going to get.
I think anything smaller than that, if you hook up to a big tuna,
You're going for a ton.
yeah, you're
You
not.
might as well be on a paddle
Well,
board.
unless you cut the line, you can't part out because it's just going to keep towing you.
Yeah, you're just going to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
But yeah, a minimum boat size at fee. There should be some minimum requirements with the rods and the reels and the line in the top shot. After that, if you want to go popping, bar fishing, live baiting, slow pitch jigging for them, as long as the kit's up to it,
That's
crack
it.
on.
All can be found at the Tuna Gear website.
Oh, yeah,
that's
it.
For more information,
What was your favourite colour bar this year?
My favourite one was the pink. When I had that, I bought those small pink ones. I think I must.
Pink dragons.
Yeah, I must have bought about 10 of them off.
Yeah, you did buy a few.
I think they're the ones we've used most of. Yeah.
I went through. We worked at 8, 3, 6. I've gone through 9. I've gone through all my pinks in one of them twice.
We used to have the pink, so didn't we, with the blue centre bar? Because we used to change our centre line.
Oh, you put the blue max on the centre.
Yeah, that's what we had.
What was that purple peril one? I kept calling it.
Purple Nukes.
Purple
Yeah,
Nukes.
that was another
favourite. The darts player.
Oh,
Yeah, the purple.
That was
Nukes.
another favourite of ours as well.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I like the purples. I didn't do so many of those.
We didn't do a lot with the big bars this year, to be fair.
When we go for lunch, I'll tell you what I've got planned for the bars for next year. Because the 15-inch, I think a lot of people are going to the smaller size stuff. 9s and 12s seems to be where it's at.
We used 9, 12s and 15s. Never used anything bigger.
17s. I've got 17 and 21s. We did them as a bit of a not a clear out, but they're a draggy bar. They are a particularly draggy bar.
That's when you need those heavier rods, because on those 50s, you're looking on those bigger bars, and the rod is pinned back that when you're towing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard with lads were ordering them with a tracker bar, and I knew what was going to happen. You won't get that track on it. There's so much drag, it almost sort of holds it in place. Yeah. And there's a few lads that bought bars, and I messaged them, and I just went, I'm going to send you the 14 drop. Then we did the bigger ones, we did in a 9 drop. The 15s I did in a 14 drop, and then 12s and 9s with a 19 drop. And I'd send them a 14 drop, which would cost me more money.
They were quite good in swell, mind, when you had quite a big or short swell.
The 15-inch bar?
Yeah, because the small bars used to try and kite off a little bit across the swell, didn't they? Whereas the bigger bars would actually sit right in and hold.
That big of extra weight.
Yeah, they would hold
some
them
interesting feedback.
Yeah.
We'll edit this bit out. Yeah, it's don't worry, nothing's edited. Yeah, that is interesting. You do see it with the smaller bars when they skip. That the outside trawling bird gets a bit.
It'll start going like that, and it'll start coming down the wave as you move along a little bit. Yeah. But then on those calmer weather days, you needed the smaller bars because you could nudge the speed on a little bit without it being overkill on the splash.
Yeah, we was working that out, weren't we?
Yeah, because on those rougher those
we pushed a bit of weather
suicidal. On the rough days, rough days, you'd see them coming launching in from left, right, and centre, going at stuff. But the calm days when they were finicky, you had to be changing your towing speeds and everything.
Dropping down to 3s and up to.
Yeah, we were trying everything, weren't we? Really, whacking the gear right back, coming in short. We were trying all sorts. Well, I did say we'd never done it before, so it was all a big learning curve.
Yeah, being on a couple of chart boats. I went out with Crusader, went out with Mark. They fish real close to the boat. Their furthest out rod is where I fish my closest rod.
Yeah, see, I don't like bringing it in too close.
Like really close. So I kept shooting it out, and Mark would shout.
But the big difference
bring
is
that back in.
Inboard and outboard.
Yeah,
that's the only difference that would make it. Is the inboard and outboard. You're on an outboard engine.
Yeah.
I'm on an outboard engine. And they're both on inboard engines.
Yeah, I think we sussed it in the end, didn't we?
Do you think that's a wash? Because the engine's not in the way.
I question whether they might rise to engine noise. If they're used to rising up to trawlers and stuff that are throwing bycatch off, because I know we were going over tuna marks in some areas, and we were going through it and we were looking at fish like 70, 80 foot. We couldn't raise them. A couple of the inboard boats came through, didn't they? You'd turn around, you'd watch the boat tow right through where you just went through, and you'd watch them hook up and you'd go...
I think it's just engine noise because they're used to that thumping. That thump, thump.
Yeah.
And obviously that's what's bringing them up because they're used to that type of noise. That outboard, the exhaust coming out with the prop noise and all that lot, they're probably not used to coming up to feeding on that.
I like that theory.
Yeah.
That holds out. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be something like that, isn't it? You don't know.
It-
Plus,
it-
some
the
of these other
thing
ones,
is-
these boats are a bigger shadow as well. So trawlers and beamers are bigger, aren't they? Where
That
7
and
metre boat's only a little skiff compared to that.
the bubbles that come out as well, bearing in mind from outboard props with the exhaust and stuff, we got a lot longer bubble trail coming out the back of the boat in comparison to an inboard.
Right.
They've got wash right close after the boat, whereas ours will go a bit further back. So we need to be a little bit further out of that wash. Because we used to always have 2 tracker birds.
Yeah,
2 tracker
that's
birds, so
what I
they'd
do.
always set out on the outsides of the wake. Because if we had them directly in the wake, it was rare. I mean, you had those odd fish that were just kamikaze fish and were just going to hit it no matter what it did. But yeah, once it started getting more finicky, we were noticing different things about keeping bars further back or closer in, or you'd stagger them. But it would change every day, so you just had to keep changing through it each day.
Conversations though. You're always learning in this fishery. Hopefully, you get the license next year.
Praying.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm
Praying
sure
for the
it'll happen.
license.
I'm sure it'll happen.
You should do.
Right, I'm going for food because my stomach's making funny noises.
Yeah, it's
Thank you for listening, boys.
Not a
I really
problem.
appreciate you coming up. It's been a long time in the making. It'd be good to do one again when we get the tail end of another season.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
get it, see what we learned, see what we've done.
Oh, that's the plan.
Yeah, I'm looking for. I want to come and do some fishing with you as well.
Yeah,
I keep
not a
threatening
problem.
to come out.
That's it.
You
You've
need
got to
to
get
you
out.
need to get an air fryer. You need to
Have to
get
get
an
up
air fryer.
early, won't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm working on that.
It's been a long day.
He's going to turn up with a Tesco's bag of sausages and everything and go, right, we've got the air
Yeah,
fryer.
where's the air fryer? Where's the air fryer? How do I put the generator on? But yeah, no, boys, I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the new boat.
Thanks,
Best of
mate.
luck with the upcoming season. Hopefully you get a
Yeah,
license
hopefully.
as well.
Yeah.
Get some double crew going on there. Thanks for listening to this one, guys. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I just like having the conversations, which is an absolute win. So we will see you on the next one. We're going for some food. Cheers, guys.